Connor Weston, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you for having me, brother.
Good to be here with you. You say if your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. When did this become a thing for you?
This is one of the greats, Muhammad Ali, and this is a quote that I've always held quite close to me. And it works on the premise of if you can entertain a thought and couple that thought with an emotion, physical reality has to catch up. The physical matter has to catch up with that. So think of the thought as the cast out and the emotion as the reel back in. And those two coupled together is a powerful magnet to create our realities. And they say that we're the ultimate creators, and that is because we are. So it's a quote that I love because I've been around boxing my whole life. I've had around 20 plus fights and I love it. And I really did and still do look up to Muhammad Ali, and he was a man of so many great things. And that's just one powerful quote that stands true to me, and it means a lot.
Nice. And when was it in your life when you realized that lesson and that belief actually worked for you? Is there any moments where you've tried it and tested it and it's came out to be true?
Yeah, quite recently, actually. Quite recently. I was doing Tai Chi, and this was about a week ago now. It's just a practice that I do every single day for 20 minutes as soon as I wake up in the morning, whilst the brain waves are still in a theta state. And this is because the subconscious mind is more susceptible to taking in new information, and it's a good way to reprogram your subconscious mind, reprogramming yourself. And I was doing this Tai Chi, and I usually set a 20-minute timer on my phone. And instead of setting a 20-minute timer, I actually forgot. And I got about 5 minutes into this Tai Chi. I had frequency, and I don't usually listen to frequency. I believe it was 432 hertz, which is healing or rejuvenation. And it come to my awareness that I forgot to set the timer. And I pulled out my phone and went to set the timer. And intuitively, I just thought, instead of setting the timer, I'm just going to look at what time it is. So I looked at the time, put my phone back in my pocket, continued to listen to this wonderful frequency and continued on with the Tai Chi. And I just got so lost in this Tai Chi. And as I was doing the Tai Chi, I just kept saying to myself, my soul will let me know. My soul will let me know. My soul will let me know. And I'm getting goosebumps now. But as I was doing the Tai Chi, the ruler just started to glide through space effortlessly. And I just got so lost within this practice. And it felt like a blink of an eye, but I come back down past my heart center. And as I come back down to bring the Tai Chi ruler up to a horizontal, I felt resistance on the ruler as if someone had their hand on there. And as I come back up, I brought it to a horizontal. And it wasn't an emotion. It wasn't a feeling. It was a knowing that my time was up, that my 20 minutes was finished. And I pulled my phone out from my pocket and 21 minutes had passed. And in that moment, I just realized that surrendering to what is and truly believing and expressing the thought out there and truly being able to believe that in your heart emotionally, that Mother Earth has you, that your soul has you, that you have you. You're always going to be provided with evidence of that. So what the mind can believe, what the mind can conceive, or rather, and the heart can believe, the physical matter has to catch up. And to me, that's just one powerful example of that. But there's definitely been a few.
So do you think, a lot of people will be thinking things that they want in their life, but they're not actually then feeling it in the heart? They're not attaching an emotion, not an emotion, but maybe an emotion, but not a feeling towards it. Can you use past experiences to then kind of use that to link towards the thought to then include the heart feeling it and believing it?
Past experience of mine?
Yeah. For example, someone's thinking, I want to make lots of money, and they're imagining the stacks, but they're not actually feeling it. They may not have experienced it. Someone that I've heard before speak about this is like, go to your bank, withdraw thousands of dollars, and then actually like just envision it, counting it, and feel the feeling that it gives you, or the feeling that you may feel of what it brings for you, which for me is freedom. the feeling of being able to go and do what I want when I want, that's ultimate freedom. So vision it in my brain, seeing it, but then actually remembering, the feeling of counting the money or having the money to be able to be free. I think that is where the real power is linking them two together.
It's exactly right. We're magnetic beings, and the thought coupled with the emotion is just a massive magnet for anything in our reality. This whole reality that we exist in is governed by the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So we can think of ourselves as vibratory forms of energy. That is all we are. The more that we can couple the thoughts and emotions that align with us, the more that we can be a magnet for those realities to be drawn to us. But the more that we can disconnect the emotion or the thought, or constantly be focused on the negatives and really take ourselves to those negative places, that puts us in a low vibratory state. Those particles aren't moving as fast. Therefore, we attract unlikable and unpleasant things in our reality. There's either the creator or the victim. There's no in between. We can either create or we can be the victim, and that is how we write our story.
Why do you think people play the victim rather than the creator?
I think people get addicted to it. It's an emotion that people become addicted to. And it's a frequency that the body, the mind, the soul becomes accustomed to as well. It's familiar. And with familiarity, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
With familiarity, is that how you say it?
Familiarity. I can't even say it myself.
With it being so familiar,
Oh, that's great.
the body is drawn to it because in unfamiliar territory, the body doesn't feel safe. And the body's constantly asking two things. Am I safe, and what time is it? And if the body doesn't feel safe, it doesn't want to project itself into unfamiliar territory. It's more accustomed to wanting to be in the familiar state of being. So if someone is stuck in the victim mindset, and they have been for a while per se, and they've experienced trauma from earlier periods of life, and they haven't resolved that trauma and moved that energy outward, and they're still in that state, it's familiar to them because they've been in that state for years. So they get so familiar with that. And think of frequency as an entity. Once you attain a certain frequency and you've been sitting in that vibration for a long time, that entity does not want to move on because it's familiar. The more that you push out of that old frequency and uplift the vibration, the more that entity wants to grab on. This is where self-doubt comes in. This is where all these negative belief comes in. This is where all the programming comes in as well. So it's more comfortable to just be a victim, to be in that state of, I can't, why does this happen to me? Why does this not happen to anyone else? It's an easy state to be in. And it's also an outsourcing of your own power as well. You're outsourcing as to why your life is so bad. You're not taking accountability because it's easier to look outside rather than to look within, because to look within requires some form of self-introspection and requires some form of awareness around uplifting your inner state. So I think people get stuck in the victim because they're in a state of fear, they're in a state of running, and it's also familiar territory for that entity, that frequency that doesn't want to leave and express itself to higher dimensions.
Yeah, you said before, that you was reprogramming. Do you think a lot of people are just stuck in a program which no longer serves them? And how do you think that people can break from that programming, and how can they break from the victim mentality? What are some steps?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are stuck in programs, and it's a system that we exist in. It's the way the system is designed. Ultimately, in my opinion, this system isn't designed to see us thrive. It's actually quite the opposite. It's designed for us to be workers, not thinkers. And that is a quote from John D. Rockefeller himself, I believe. So when it comes to wanting to break out and wanting to be a better version of yourself, the first step is awareness. If you're in a program and if you are living the victim archetype, but you're unaware of that and you're just unconsciously going through day-to-day activities with a state of minimal awareness, you're never going to break free because you're not actually aware enough to be aware of the fact that you are doing actions and continually engaging in self-sabotaging habits. So you don't know how to get out of it. The first step is awareness, and to become aware, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. You need to be around people that have some form of awareness. You need to have the right mentors, because ultimately, if you grow up in a family that are unconscious and are constantly expressing limiting beliefs and all this programmed stuff, and you're constantly engaged with watching the news and scrolling and filling your mind with absolute rot, and your subconscious mind is just expanding with nonsense that doesn't serve you, it limits your capacity to actually become aware in the first place. So I feel to become aware, it starts with creating the environment to support and facilitate that in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Whether that's through a trauma, whether that's through a cataclysmic event that arises in your life that can force that, whether it's through exercise. We have these little encounters and opportunities through life, gifted by source, gifted by the all, gifted by God, gifted by the universe, to be able to shift the dynamic and to shift our consciousness, to elevate the vibration and to increase more awareness in our own life.
Nice. Was there any moments in your life that you remember, like big events which helped shift your consciousness? Hello, cockatoos.
Amazing.
The beauty of nature.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. Definitely. And quite recently, if I'm honest, around 2022, going back about 4 years ago, I was in a state that I was just really lost. My whole life, I've been engaged with certain sports and certain activities, and it's constantly been an up and down journey with ebbs and flows, but I've had no medium to return to. It's always been all in or all out. And whether that serves me in some ways, it does, but it definitely doesn't in other ways as well. And I went through a period of heavy drug use, in particular cocaine, and I was utilizing the drug every single day, more or less. And I went through a massive period of psychosis. I completely lost my mind. I lost touch with reality completely. I was hallucinating at certain times. I thought my family was out to get me, even my own dad. And I remember actually going on a Sydney trip to the grand final, and I was using it down there as well. And I was just going through a manic episode, and yeah, I thought my own dad was out to get me along with his friends, and I started abusing his friends. I started saying, I'm getting a flight home, I'm getting out of here. And there was multiple episodes like that. I feel like the straw that broke the camel's back, though, was just living in that state on and off. And sometimes I wasn't even using the drug, but I was in that manic, unaware, completely different dimensional state of being. And it was quite tough for me, because looking back now and going and reliving that, it's kind of hard, because it just makes me realize that there's so much darkness that you can experience, and especially within the own mind as well, and the tricks that your mind can play on you. And I remember I'd constantly do routine checks through my ceiling space. I owned a house in Toowoomba, and I'd constantly be looking through the ceiling because I thought people were up there. I thought the authorities were up there. I thought there were cameras. I thought there were microphones. So I'd literally be pulling lights apart in my house. I'd be pulling my stereos apart, just trying to find or give myself evidence as to why I was right and why there were cameras and bugs and everything else in between in my house. And I remember one night I was in my house and I was completely disconnected, and I thought the perimeter of my house was surrounded by informants, detectives, whatever you want to call it. And I remember getting in prone and just army crawling around my house for, it must have been hours. And mind you, I was working at the Gatton prison as well as an electrician, so I had a fair bit of responsibility, and I was getting up to this at night time, and this is just where my mind would take me. And I was crawling around the perimeter of my house and listening up against the walls to try and hear them talking, to try and hear any noise to give me evidence that they were in my ceiling or outside of the house. And yeah, I remember getting up, and I remember standing in front of my cupboard, and it was a cupboard that held my vacuum in there, and there was a light coming beneath the crack of the door. And I thought one of my mates was in there, and I thought he was stealing off me for some reason. And I just sat outside that room, and I was like, mate, I know you're in there. Just tell me why you're here. Just tell me why you're stealing off me. And I would have stood there for about 30 minutes. And all of a sudden, I just felt the courage to open the door. So I opened the door, and it was just my vacuum charging and the light from the charger. And I kind of walked away, and I was like, okay, sweet. No, that's all good. And I walked out into the garage because I'd constantly just be walking around, making sure that the rooms were clear, making sure that the doors were locked. I just felt so unsafe, mate, so unsafe. And it was just a place that was just a nightmare to be in. And it was coming from here. And I went out to the garage and there was this red light that was flickering. And I always like to have the house pitch black so I couldn't be seen. And there was this red light flickering. And I thought it was the Raptor squad or the police force with someone holding a gun to my head. And I literally stood there shaking like this for at least an hour, man. And I was just sitting there shaking, looking at this red dot. I was like, I'm sorry. Just don't shoot. Just don't shoot. I'm here. Do whatever you need to do. I'm sorry. Don't shoot me. And I was so fucking terrified, mate. So terrified. And the red dot was just still flickering. And I was wondering why it wasn't moving. And I looked inside and it was just the red dot coming from the dash of my car. And mate, it just makes you realize where the mind can take you and how deep you can go, how deeply disconnected you can be from source. And that was one of the drawing straws for me, man. Just living that day in, day out. And this went on for months. And it got to 2023 and I started to clean up my act a little bit and I started to put one foot in front of the other, but I was still in and out, and my mind was still chaos. And it got to the 1st of January 2024 and I decided to run 10 kilometers in this period. And it was over New Year's. So I think I left at about 11:30 p.m. and returned at 12:30 a.m. And I left with the intention and a knowing that my old self, my old identity was going to be left behind because I couldn't continue on like this. My family was scared for me. I was scared for me, to be honest. I had very few options. It was either mental ward, prison, possibly death, losing everyone and everything. And I went on a run that night in my sauna sweatsuit that I use for losing weight when it comes to cutting weight for boxing. And I remember at about 8 kilometers in, I fully shit myself, fully just diarrheaed all in my pants and it started running down my legs. I wasn't wearing undies, running into my shoes. And I thought, do I stop? And I'm like, no, I'm not stopping. I set with the intention for 10 kilometers and I set with the intention of creating someone new and moving forward with this. And I can't stop now. And I continued on the last 2 kilometers and ever since that day, I have just put one foot in front of the other and I have forced change. And I don't care how hard it's been or what's come up. I have stuck true to that pact that I made myself to be a better person. And that's where the true beauty started to happen, man. Yeah.
Wow. What a story, bro. That sounds like torture in a way, like hell in your own mind. Army crawling around your house and so paranoid of what's going on. What do you think were the catalyst to get you to that place of, overusing cocaine and then the mind thinking that the authorities or people are watching you? What do you think was the reasoning for that? Do you know?
Yeah, there's a bit of a backstory to that. I was actually selling a little bit myself. So because I was doing that, I was always looking over my shoulder. And the more that I engaged with the substance, the more I convinced myself that everything was coming crashing down. Everything was going to end up in a cataclysmic event that I didn't want to happen. And I'd go to sleep every single night just wondering when that door was going to get kicked down, wondering when I'd hear a smash of glass with them coming through the window or whatever that looked like. And it was just a constant fear, man, the constant fear that I fed into and that I kept in that habitual cycle because it was an identity that I created. I was that guy and I felt comfortable with being that guy. My whole identity at certain points during that was tied to doing all that nonsense. And that's where a lot of the paranoia come from. And just excessive cocaine use as well in itself, it destroys the brain.
Yeah.
It destroys your capacity to think. And man, I was just a shell of myself, an absolute shell of myself. I remember one of my good mates come over one time and I was up all night and I hadn't been to sleep yet and I was just sniffing coke all night, all morning, and he come over and the reason I rang him was because I thought someone was in my ceiling space And I was up there in my jumper, just sweating, trying to look for this someone in there. And I remember he just looked at me and he's like, Westo. He goes, are you okay? Like, are you all good? And then I started thinking in my head that he was involved in it. And mate, I basically pushed every single one of my friends away. Everyone that I used to talk to when I was engaged with that life and doing those things, I no longer have much communication with anymore. And it's kind of good because I built a full new identity. I'm embodying the person that I'm actually here to be and carrying out my soul's purpose. And unfortunately, it took for myself a cataclysmic event for that to happen, to share some awareness with myself and to broaden my perspective on things. And that was what I was alluding to before. Sometimes it takes those traumas, sometimes it takes those cataclysmic events in one's life to shift perspective and to want to be better, because you have no option, man. You have no option. And sitting here now, knowing what it feels like to be at the bottom of what that looks like for me, but also the top of what that looks like for me, I know what both sides feel like, man. I know the taste of victory and I know the taste of defeat. And I'll tell you now, the life of victory and the life of embodiment, the life of living in alignment is so much more powerful than any drug could ever give you. And I will never go back to that life. And anyone that is engaged with that life just has my unconditional love, because it's tough, man. A lot of people don't come out of that, and that's the reality.
What is it for you that was the turning point? I know you hit rock bottom and you was going through these, psychosis events, and, your family was worried about you. What was the turning point that made you go, you know what? I'm going to go for a run and I'm going to leave this version of me behind. Was there anyone in your life that was there to guide you, or was it just your mind just switched?
It was me, man, but there was one catalyst to force that. I got arrested. Yeah, I got arrested, and without going too much into detail, someone stole a significant amount of tools off my little brother, and it was equal to about $20,000. And I left it for a little bit, and I just did some digging, and I ended up finding out who this person was, and I just thought I'd leave it. And yeah, I called one of my mates at the time, and I just said, look, come over. And we just got that high once again, and we had the intention to go over to this person's house and to see if they were home and to inflict malice on this person. And I remember he bought some balaclavas over, and I remember being in the car. His missus drove us to this house a couple streets over, and I remember getting out of this car and putting this balaclava on, and my heart was racing, man. It's almost in that moment, I was just thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Genuinely, what am I doing? I am not this guy. I do not want to do this, and I am too far in to quit now. I can't quit, was where my head was at. And we got up to this house, and thank fuck no one was home, man. Thank fuck no one was home. So we ended up peeling, and we got back to the place and just carried on, just started drinking and stuff. And I think I was almost relieved that I didn't have to do that with someone that I barely knew, mind you. And to prove what? To prove what, and to get at what? And it just makes me feel sick. And we got home and just started smashing drinks, man. I think I was drinking wine, and we just would have been that loud, and I was just out on the street, and I was pulling mailboxes out of houses and just running an absolute muck. And the cops came up, and they pulled up, and I think they said a couple of words to me, and I basically told them to shut up. And then I got back up to the house, and they followed me up, and I just basically said, fuck off. Like, I don't want you on the property. And one of them sprinted towards me and tackled me and handcuffed me. And I was in undies. I still had the balaclava around my neck. And then this other van pulled up, and they were just holding me against the car. And they eventually got me in the van. And I remember lying in that van, and there was a million thoughts running through my head, but I was just that drunk and intoxicated and disconnected that I didn't know what to believe. I'm like, is this even real? Is this actually happening right now? I'm literally lying in this cop van. I had undies on with a massive hole in the bottom of them. My nutsack was hanging out. And I had this amazing thought, what I thought was amazing. And I thought, I'm just going to pretend to be asleep in this van and just see what happens. And they opened the door when we got back to the cop station. They're like, hey, mate, like, time to get up, time to get out. And I was just lying there, cuffed to the floor, pretending to be asleep. And like, no, we're not copping this. They grabbed me, just threw me out onto the concrete, smacked my head, lifted me up, and they just threw me in this cell, man. And I remember being in this cell, and I was angry to the world. I was angry to myself, and I was just punching all the walls in there. I was punching the intercom and scarred my knuckle, and I eventually got let out. And when I got let out, I was still mildly intoxicated, and they let me out, walked out of this cop station. Mate, I was filthy. I was absolutely filthy. My hair was fucking everywhere. And I remember looking down at my undies and seeing my cock and balls hanging out. And I was like, okay, sweet. Like, I don't have a phone. Like, okay, I've obviously got to go back into the cop station and make some sort of call or figure something out, because I'm not going to walk home or try and walk into a store like this. I look homeless. And I walked back in there, pressed the intercom. I said, can I make a call? He's like, nah, mate, the Domino's is just down the road. Fuck off. And I was like, oh, okay. So fair enough. Like, I must have just been an absolute clown in there. Probably deserved it. And I walked out, and I just remember perching up on this pillar outside the cop station, just lying in the sun, just contemplating life, bro. I was just like, how the fuck has my life gotten here? How can it be this dark? And this old couple walked past, and they said, like, you okay? And I was like, oh yeah. They said, do you want to make a call or anything? And I was like, yeah, please. So I rang my mother and father at the time. They were currently away, and I explained to them what happened. They obviously weren't happy, and they had to get Dad's brother to come and pick me up, Neil. And I respect this man so much. He's taught me so many lessons, and I seriously look up to him in more ways than one. And he's pulled up and just taken one look at me. She's like, get the fuck up, mate. Like, get in and drop me home. And to me, just letting my parents down in that way, letting myself down in that way, man, and letting my uncle down in that way as well, just kind of clicked. I was like, if I keep on this trajectory, if I continue to do what I'm doing now, this is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I've done this for so many years. I need to find a way to just get out of whatever the fuck I'm doing right now. This needs to stop. Otherwise, it's not going to end good. And from that moment forward, man, I really cleaned up my act from that moment forward, and just strive to become a better version of myself. And I wanted to not only be better for myself, I wanted to be better for my future family, my current family, and I wanted to make people proud. I wanted to make a change in my life and a change in others' lives as well. And I decided I wasn't going to take part in that anymore. Yeah.
It's crazy how the universe will rightfully put you in where you need to be to initiate the change. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it is at the detriment of, your progression, and it is at the lowest points of your life where the big changes happen, and the universe will just give you a good whack and wake you up in a way. In hindsight, do you think, the younger version of you, do you think there's anything that you could have done, or anything that you could have done for yourself before that got to that point? Or do you just believe it had to get there? With what you know now, if you could speak to the younger version of yourself back then, what would you have said to try and get him out of it quicker? Or what would you have done?
I just would have given that kid so much love, man, so much unconditional love, and just held space for him, and just explained to that kid that it didn't need to be this way, bro. There's a path down here that we haven't even explored yet. Life isn't all negatives. You're not the victim. You don't need to prove anyone through money, through status, through any of that nonsense. You just need to be you. And the moment that you can just rock up and just be yourself without wearing a mask is the moment that you're just going to be gravitated towards such a more powerful and fulfilling life. And I feel like, mate, for so many years for myself, I've just been wearing a mask, bro. Just been wearing a mask and just trying to be someone that I'm not. And I'm aware of the fact that a lot of this is to do with childhood and certain traumas and stuff. And just carrying that and not knowing how to deal with that, and masking everything, suppressing emotions, not feeling safe to talk, feeling ashamed, and just carrying all that with you. I remember I in my earlier life, I was actually sexually taken advantage of by a male, and that truly affected me in more ways than one. And as I got older, I began to realize I just thought it was normal. And this went on for a little while. I thought it was normal. And as I began to grow older and mature through my life, I began to realize that it wasn't so normal. And I felt ashamed. I felt sick. I felt different. I felt disconnected. I felt angry. Once again, suppress, suppress, suppress. And it never really come out until later in life, until I started abusing alcohol more, and then it just started filtering back up through. And I can confidently talk about it now because I've dealt with that, and I'm just so glad that everything has happened the way it has, and I wouldn't change it for the world because it's made me the man that I am. And I'm just so grateful that life has given me this opportunity. But just carrying things as people through traumas and certain experiences, and not being taught ways to express that, not being taught ways to give yourself love and allow those dark parts of you to come to the light and to integrate, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all people at the end of the day. We all do things that we're not proud of, and no one's perfect. But the more that you can give those parts of you love and accept that it's happened and accept that it was there in your journey in some way, shape or form to promote growth, that's where the true beauty lies, man. And that's where you can stop wearing the mask and stop trying to be someone that you're not. Stop trying to impress people, but just be yourself, because you have nothing to hide. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Powerful. What do you think some people can do to take the mask off that are currently wearing the mask? What are some practices or some even just mental shifts to make people aware that they're wearing a mask? How do you know if you're in your true authentic self, or how do you know if you're living to please other people and not in your true authentic self?
Great question, man. Great question. I feel like you know when you're living in authenticity because your life is just magnetic. You meet new cool people, you have cool experiences, the synchronicities are there, those conversations that you might be in the background hearing, but the universe just plants those people there for you and allows you to hear it, and just the vibration about it, man. But if you're not living in alignment, it just feels like you're constantly facing resistance. I'm sure with yourself when you're doing podcasts or whatever that looks like, and you're facing resistance and the questions don't feel natural, or you don't feel aligned with what you're expressing to the world, and it just feels very corrosive and very rigidy, that's a sign to me that, okay, cool. What are we doing that isn't in alignment? How do we move back into alignment? Because the reality is, mate, it's unrealistic to be living in alignment 100% of the time. We all live out of alignment. We all do things that we're not proud of, but it's about becoming aware of when we are out of alignment as much as we can, so we can just shift back on the path of our true self. And I feel like it's just an internal feeling where you experience that, and it's a knowing as well.
Yeah, it comes back to being in touch with yourself and in touch with your intelligence within. You know, if you're masking it with drugs, with alcohol, with substances, with distractions, you're not going to actually understand you, the real you, the you that you've came into this vessel to be, that the universe has put you here for. You're just going to distract it, or, you know, like I said, feed yourself with substances that are not going to help your progression. So, yeah, it's a constant reminder that you just to tap into yourself and really listen to what you're feeling. Be aware of what energy you're emitting. Like you said, when you're tuned in and when you're on your higher frequency, you start noticing the synchronicities and the coincidences, you can call them, that keep coming. And, you know, the universe gives you signs. And once you start tapping into that, you start to become more aware of, all right, I see. And for me personally, more recently, is a shift in my mentality. You know, for example, when I am doing my job of mowing, which is not my sole purpose, it's just part of my journey right now, which is stepping stone, and I get paid that money. A part of me a few months ago would have been like, is that all? Lack and not much appreciation. Now I get the money and I give thanks to the money that comes my way, and I say I literally in my mind go, I'm tapped in to an infinite source of abundance. There's enough for me. There's enough for everyone around me. There's no scarcity in my field. And I'm happy for people that are winning, and I'm happy for people that are succeeding in life, because if you emit an energy that is jealous or envious, It's lack, and it's a lower vibration. If you emit the energy of, good on you, bro, celebrate your friends' wins, celebrate people that are winning around you, you'll attract more people that are winning. You'll put out a frequency to the earth that attracts more of that energy towards you, and you'll eventually attract more financial abundance into your own life. And not just finances, but joy, people that are on a good frequency. There'll be less drama in your life. And I think it all starts from in the mind, the awareness of what you're thinking, what you're absorbing, what you're programming yourself, That leads me to programming. And we know this world is built to kind of suppress and to put people in this fear state so they don't become self-independent and they don't operate in the highest frequency, I guess. What are some things in this world that you know of which people should 100% avoid if they want to raise their vibrational frequencies?
Let's start with a low-hanging fruit, man, the news. Taking in information is so important. Think of your mind as a gate, the gates to heaven. The more that you're exposed to any information, whatever that looks like, conversations, relationships, different forms of energy, scrolling, reading, the more you allow that information straight through the conscious into the subconscious. The subconscious does not discriminate, man. It takes in all information, and those gates expand and expand and expand. And there's a reason why the news is so normalized. There's a reason why scrolling on social media is so normalized. There's a reason why people struggle watching a clip more than a minute now, let alone 10 seconds. And that's because it is all distraction. It is all information that is irrelevant, that takes up space and capacity in your subconscious mind. Reprograms your subconscious mind subtly, but it does. Movies. And I think with the era of information and technology that we're currently involved in and are gearing toward, we need to be so protective of our gates. Whether it's music, there's so many different forms, and allowing nourishing information and nourishing relationships into our field of energy, into our subconscious, and really being mindful of that, because the subconscious mind is who you are. And if it's constantly being reprogrammed and rewired via these external influences with absolute rot, what sort of person are you going to be? And that's, to me, one of the main forms of subconscious programming. I watched someone very close to me that was anti-COVID vax. There was my brother and myself that stood strong and banded together in this time because we had awakenings pretty early on, including myself around 14. So I knew that as soon as the COVID vax came out, it was nothing good. And I told my whole family that it's a wise idea not to get it. I think we should all not get it. And we were all not going to get it. And I watched someone quite close to me and continually watch the news, and all of a sudden, from definitely not getting it to 6 months down the line, it was, there's no way that I'm getting it. That's ridiculous. To, but I can't go to the pub and have a beer with my mates if I don't get it. And I said, but there's a vaccine passport that you can get that can mitigate that. So there's nothing to worry about. And still, man, the power of the news, the power of literally rewiring your subconscious mind. And it's so easy to sit there and think, but I know it's nonsense anyway. I'm not going to sit there and I'll be able to discern. And that in itself is not a true statement, because even though your conscious mind may be discerning of the information coming in, it's still penetrating into those gates of the subconscious. It's still rewiring your brain in some way, shape, or form. So just being really mindful about your environment in totality is so important, man. So important.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, when you hear that information, some people truly believe it. But I've noticed a lot more people are questioning everything now.
Yeah.
Everything I see on the news, I hear it and I see the fear, even with the fuel prices and these wars that are going on. More fear, more division, more scarcity mindset. And I'm noticing it when I'm filling my YouTube. I can either go, this is an extra $20. But now I'm just going, I'm so grateful that I have the abundance to fill my YouTube and continue. And I don't feed that fear. I don't feed that scarcity, because that is what fuels that entity. They feed from your fear. They feed from your scarcity mindset. The more energy you emit, more frequency. It's a frequency magnet, this thing. And if you feed it with your fear, you're only empowering it more. So I'm wondering how people can start to become more aware of, for example, with the COVID vaccine. So many people that I know did the same thing. They wanted to go on holiday, so they'd get this injection, which they have no idea what's in it or the side effects or anything. And I know many health professionals who were advising against it too, but we're getting pushed into a corner so much that you're going to lose your job if you don't get it. And someone close to me, my mother, I said to her, "Mum, don't get it." I was like, "Please, you don't know, it's not been tested, you don't know what's in it, you don't know the side effects." She's like, "I know, I don't agree with it." And she was getting emails from the work saying, coming in for a meeting, talking about it, they said, "You need to get this vaccine, otherwise you lose your job." And she was like coming to me going, "I'm really worried about losing my job." And I was like, "Mum, what's it worth to you? I know you've been doing this." She's been in the NHS for 30 odd years, and they was just ready to get rid of her like that because she wouldn't get this vaccine. And there was a protest on in Manchester. I said, "Come with me to this protest. It's for the health professionals." So she came with me, and there was tens of thousands of people, man. Tens of thousands, all just walking through the streets of Manchester. And this is the first protest she's ever been to. And she's like, "Whoa, this is insane." Everyone was going to the politician's house and throwing the work clothes there and stuff. And in hindsight, look back, I'm like, kind of just feeding that energy anyway, because they want you to be enraged. They want you to fucking go out on the streets, and they want you to protest. And I don't know if peaceful protesting does absolutely fucking anything, to be honest. You can go out and protest and it makes you feel good and you feel you're empowered. But realistically, it was all part of their plan anyway. Long story short, the media said there was 500 people there. There was tens of thousands. Obviously, they said that. And on the last day where she was supposed to get fired and go in for a meeting, she went in. And basically that morning, they reverted the whole system of needing to take a vaccine. But the amount of nurses that would have gone, and all these health professionals that would have gone and got this just to keep their jobs, it's horrible, man. Like, because people need the jobs, people need money to survive in this reality. So I am empathetic and compassionate to those who were pushed so much into a corner, who didn't have support, who didn't have strong, awakened people around them to hold them and uplift them and go, "Look, don't fold to this, stay strong, we'll figure this out." So yeah, it was a wild time. I remember it very deeply, and the division it created between mask wearers, non-mask wearers, fucking vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, more division, which was all planned, all part of their massive, I don't even know what to call it. It was a psyops. It was a test of humanity to see who will conform to what they want, who will feed into the fear, maybe they needed more fear. They needed to harvest more energy for their system because it was getting weak. So they was like, right, what can we do? Boom. Yeah. I think that moment, as horrible as it was and as traumatic as it was for many people, I still feel it within me that it's still something that I'm working through, of, seeing the truth of this system, of what they're actually trying to do. And that was a real turning point for me, and I'm sure for many people, it was an awakening. So as painful as it was, it shone light on the darkness, which brings awareness to people's lives and people's minds, and it brings back sovereignty to be able to make decisions for yourself and to protect your family, of not just saying yes to what you see, not just saying yes to, "You do this because we say so." So it's created a mass consciousness awakening, I believe.
For sure, man, for sure. And alluding to what you said, it's a travesty with what happened, and no one should ever be at the shotgun of the authorities. And almost be forced to put a exogenous foreign chemical substance into your body. We all have free will. We all have the freedom of choice. And to be quite frank, we all had the freedom of choice and free will in this. No one had to get it. But unfortunately, people were pushed into a corner with families and they were coerced more or less into getting it. And with all the previous subconscious programming leading up to that point, what are they going to do when they have limited options? And it's quite sad to see that. But it did wake a lot of people up, man. The vibration of this collective, the vibration of Mother Gaia in itself is rapidly increasing. And I think we can all feel that with the more people becoming aware, people standing up to vaccines. 5 years ago, mate, if you said and put a video out online about vaccines, which mind you, probably would have been shadow banned anyway. But 5 years ago, people would have come at you for being a tinfoil hat, for being this, for being that. And it's quite liberating now, just being able to jump on there and express your opinion, your truth, and have people believe in that and have communities and connection between individuals that are sharing light on this nonsense, man, because that's what it is. It's nonsense. It's nonsense, bro. And us as human organisms, we are just so powerful. We're beautiful. We have this innate intelligence within. We have this powerful and profound capacity to heal. Why do we need any exogenous substance that's going to do anything that we can't already do? We started this podcast with that quote. If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. That is true in every way, shape and form and on all fronts. You do not need a vaccine to protect against what? Your body can do it all. With support by Mother Nature, with support by nourishing foods, with support by nourishing community. We're wonderful beings of light, and this is what the collective is becoming more aware of now, which is even more empowering. And I do believe as well that it was a massive psyop for starters, let's be fair. For seconds, it is like they needed to loosh a whole lot of energy and utilize that for whatever they did. But their time is running out and they are scrambling and they are scared. And these people, I call them entities, they know that their time is coming and it's coming soon because the people are rising. And once we keep rising, once we keep elevating, once we keep creating communities and rising the vibration of our own self and then the collective of that around us, the natural byproduct of that is raising the vibrational frequency of the earth itself. And a nice little byproduct of that as well is these entities have nowhere to go and nowhere to hide. They can't sustain an existence on this plane with the vibration that they hold. Why? Because they sold their soul. It's the price that these people pay to have the experience that they do here. These people aren't tethered to a soul. If you're not tethered to a soul, you have nowhere to return to and nowhere to return from. The physical plane is all there is. There's a reason why they're trying to upload their consciousness into digital servers to preserve it. Death is one of the most spiritual experiences, if not the most spiritual experience there is. It's something that should be embraced because our soul's just gone on this massive, incredible, wonderful journey and we get to return to this incredible source where we came from to perhaps one day experience another dimension or maybe we come back down here or whatever that looks like, but it should be celebrated. These people do not want to leave. These people are tied and tethered to the 3D, to the physical. They know that the vibration, once uplifted, their time is done. And that's the most beautiful part about it, man, because we know that change is coming and we know that the light is truly there after all these years. It's finally here.
I wonder what the catalyst will be for the mass awakening, because I can already feel the consciousness shifting, and the more conversations I have with people like yourself, the more I'm aware that there's a lot of people coming through in these bodies now. Even the younger children of today are coming through with light, with love, which is a frequency which is just going to no longer feed these entities, which is going to starve them. So as soon as people, I think there's a quote saying, I don't know exactly how it goes, but if you live in your comfort zone and it's not painful enough to move you, you'll never change. So I'm wondering what events people need to go through to then go, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Maybe some people, I've said this before, may never be awakened. Some people will never be on this path of, true purpose, and that's just their journey, I guess. So, yeah, more love, more self-awareness, more compassion and support for others, less feeding of the fear, less feeding of these scarcity energies out there.
There's a theory out there, man, that the world is going to split and divide into two, one being the 3D and one being the 5D. And the people that choose to move into alignment with who they are, to unconditionally love, and to move into that new vibration will experience the 5D. The people that are still repeating self-sabotaging habits and still in that lower state of vibration, they'll experience the 3D. And not necessarily being a physical split that we notice, but just a gradual split. It's a separation of the two, and take that with a grain of salt, but it almost feels like that's what's happening. It feels like that's what's happening right now. You can either take the right path to the 5D or you can take the left path to the 3D. What one's it going to be?
And yeah, you kind of look at which way your trajectory of your life, like you looked at the trajectory of your life if you carried on down that path of drug use and, you know, them sabotaging thoughts, and that's the 3D realm. And honestly believe that it's going to get really challenging if you do not face yourself and you do not actually start becoming aware of yourself to tap into the 5D. It's going to become very uncomfortable to live on this earth, and it already is quite uncomfortable anyway. Like, yeah, we were in paradise. It's weird sometimes, you know, I can find the appreciation for this environment and the amazing things that are happening in my life because I choose to focus on that rather than focusing on the war, rather than focusing on what the government are doing, rather than feeding into that fear. I focus on me, my energies, what I'm emitting to the people around me, to you, to nature, to anyone. What am I emitting? Am I spreading a vibe or a frequency which is actually starving this opposition of energy, or am I feeding into it? So yeah, it comes back to you, and to everyone watching this, comes back to you, how you're waking up in the morning, how you're consciously is the word. Are you conscious about your actions, your today, how you act today, how you're going to feel tomorrow? Having the discipline to say no to the things that no longer serve you, because it's easy to sleep in, it's easy to drink, it's easy to, you know, stay up late at night, it's easy to do all the shit that's bad for you, it's easy to eat bad food, but the discipline comes to saying no to watching the news. Turn your TV off, don't ever watch the news again because it's all a load of shit. There's no real positiveness or any good vibration coming from that. Saying no to going out on the weekends, getting smashed out your head, taking drugs, waking up the next day wondering what the fuck did I do last night? Because I've been there where I'd go out and chase and drink and smoke and wake up feeling absolutely like shit. Saying no to the environment you're putting yourself into, the foods that you're eating. Yeah, it's a lot of self-awareness and self-discipline.
You got to make things black and white, man, and the lower mind will constantly try to pull you into habits that don't serve you a lot of the time. And that's why the lower mind needs to be trained via meditation and other forms of self-introspection, just being, and constantly gently bringing your awareness back to the breath or whatever you're focusing upon, just so you can exercise the lower mind and train it in the way that it should be trained. Because people are so distracted today and people are so unconscious, the lower mind is running their program. The shadows are running their program. They think that is them, but they're self-identified to beliefs that they've taken on that the lower mind has run with. And it's a rabbit hole that many just get stuck in. And once you start to train the lower mind like a muscle, the brain is no different. It slowly starts to integrate into the higher mind, into the soul. And when you start to integrate the lower mind into the higher mind and allow for a bridge in continuity of the soul and the ego, you can express yourself from a more abundant place, from a more pure place, rather than expressing yourself from lack and separation, as you spoke about before, being grateful, being abundant, and living in that. Because the more that you express yourself from those lower vibrations, that's where the energy is coming from, that intention. stuff that is created in the physical plane is always manifested before in the energetic realm. Energetically, stuff is manifested before it'll manifest in the physical. So if your intention isn't pure and it's coming from a place of lack and separation and you're trying to create and do all these wonderful, cool things, what's the result that's going to be generated from that? It's going to be suboptimal. But if you're creating from a place of wholeness, of gratitude, of love, abundance, and putting that energy out into the world with that intention in whatever you do, it doesn't matter. The results and the outcomes of that is just going to be so much more fulfilling. And a lot of people are trying to create from the lower mind because the lower mind is running the show because they are self-identified to that mind. Your mind is not you. Your thoughts are not you. They happen to you. But when you can just observe, be okay, not judge, that is when you start to integrate. That is when you start to express yourself and create a dynamic which pushes good energy out into the world. And it's so easy to think that your participation in this realm is insignificant because that's what they make you believe. They make you believe that you are insignificant in this world. It is a program that nearly everyone is deeply embedded with. When you understand how powerful you are and how significant you are, you will understand that when you are creating from a place of love and sharing that into the world, you can touch someone on the other side of the world and they will receive that. Time and space is an illusion. I don't need to be with someone. Anyone doesn't need to be with anyone to share love and to uplift the vibration. It can be felt. It can be received from anywhere. And that's something so powerful that people need to lean into. Your participation does matter, and it matters a lot.
Wow. You said you was awakened at 14. What happened to you at 14 to awaken you?
Yeah, so originally, this is, I was going to say funny story, but it's not really funny because it led down to a path of destruction. But I thought it was 12 originally, and then going back through the timeline, it was around year 9, so I was about 14 years old, and I had a really good friend, and he exposed me to something called the Pizzagate, and I was looking into it, and this is when the internet was very much available and accessible.
What's the Pizzagate, mate?
Yeah, so I was navigating all of this and being exposed to this information, and when I was 14, I didn't really know much about politics of the world or anything of that nature. I was just a kid that loved drinking and doing all these cool things, right? Cool things. And it was basically Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, which are both people with positions in government over in the United States. They were running a child trafficking ring, and they were running it through a pizza franchise. And I believe the pizza franchise was called Comet Ping Pong, something around the lines of that. And they had underground tunnels where they were facilitating the transportation of these kids. And there was emails that were leaked between these individuals. There was emails leaked from Barack Obama as well, ordering $60,000 of pizza and hot dogs to the White House. And all of these people were involved in it. And if you do some decoding, pizza, hot dogs, all these aliases that they use are just terminologies for boys, girls, little girls. And it was quite confronting, man, because I didn't want to believe it. But the more that I immersed myself in all of this information and started doing my own digging on Reddit forums, talking to others, watching videos on YouTube at the time, because YouTube was very uncensored, and you couldn't not face the truth. It was there right in front of you. And I was just sitting there scratching my head thinking, I'm 14, man. Like, how does no one not know about this? Hillary Clinton is literally about to run for a position in the United States as president. And this is going on? I was like, the fuck, man? And then I got into adrenochrome, and adrenochrome is a substance that the elites use. Shouldn't even call them elites, that these entities use. And they basically scare infants. And because these infants are scared, it releases adrenaline through the blood, and they harvest their blood and they keep it in vials. And you need very small dosages, but they use it as their drug of choice to stay younger, to get high. And being exposed to all this at 14 years old was tough. I remember talking to mum and trying to talk to my brothers about it, and they were just like, mate, you've lost the plot. You've completely fucking lost it.
Was you called a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, mate, yeah. And there was very little people at school that we could talk to it about. So it was literally Chris and myself, and we would chat about it at school, and it was very full on. It was like we were living in almost a fraudulent simulation, fake, weird reality, because we had all this information at such a young age, yet we were looking around at the world and at every other individual thinking, how the fuck are these guys just walking around just doing stuff?
How are you not enraged right now?
Like, what's going on? What's going on, more or less?
Or just question it more, because I know about it, and I've been in with my brother is very into that kind of stuff as well, and he showed me from a young age, and a part of me was, listening and doing my own research, but then a part of me, because I was so young, I wasn't ready to accept it. I went so deep down the rabbit hole.
How old were you, bro?
Oh, probably in my teens as well.
Okay.
I've been around it a lot, but I chose to not focus on it because I went so deep down the rabbit hole that it was actually so heavy on my soul. It was painful for me to sit with, and I didn't want to hear about it. Every time we'd go somewhere or there was a family event to be talking about QAnon or this or Pizzagate, or I'm just like, look, bro, I get it, and I know there's probably a lot of dark shit going on, but for me right now, I'm not at the point where I can absorb this information. It's too heavy for me right now. So yeah, at 14 years old is massive, and it's hard because even now I know about it, but I've not done. It's a part of me wants to not believe it. It's so strange, isn't it? Because I'm not seeing it personally, which I never want to do. So I don't know. It's hard to sometimes know what they want you to see to believe. You know what I mean? Because they can put out information because they want you to feed that energy. They want you to think this is happening. They want you to be enraged. Same with the Epstein files. That's been out for fucking years, bro. Years and years and years. I remember hearing about this so many years ago when he killed himself. We're gonna get fucking cancelled, mate. I don't know. This is what I mean. I'm just gonna speak my truth because it's out there anyway, and more people speak about it. So, but now they want the files to be released. They want people to be aware of it. Why now? Why not 5-10 years ago when it happened? Why does it take this long? Why is nothing happening with any of this information that's been put out there? Why is none of these entities or energies that have been, there's evidence there? Why is there no justice?
I'd love to hear your opinion.
Why there's no justice?
What's your opinion on the Epstein files and why they're being released, and why is it becoming such a worldwide known thing now? What could potentially be happening, you think?
Honestly, mate, I wish I knew the answers. A part of me is to create more fear, to create more division, to show that the leaders are weak, which equals a weaker civilization. When your leaders aren't strong, the civilization is broken as well. Maybe it's to expose, to create more division and war from good versus evil. Maybe it's the light energies coming in, exposing the darkness, because you expose the darkness and it brings awareness, which then brings consciousness, which then brings questioning, which then brings people together to be able to raise the vibration against this. But why is it happening at this time? Maybe there's a massive reset coming. Maybe there's a massive financial shift happening. Maybe there's a whole economical shift taking place. And for that to happen, it needs to be a huge event. There needs to be multiple of huge events. And back then, they might have released it to see what energy comes back from it. They got what they needed then. Now they're pushing it again because they need to refuel again. I'm not really sure 100% why it's happening. I'd like to hear your opinion on why you think it's happening.
Yeah, well, powerful, man. There's a lot of pertinent points that you just mentioned, but I don't think ultimately anyone knows unless you're in the club or whatever that looks like. But to me, the thing that makes the most sense is just a massive psychological operation. As you said, making the leaders look weak, creating weakness within the masses, and then the old saying of problem, action, solution. We know the problem. We know the reaction. have we seen the solution? And I think that's the scariest part, because to me, the solution could potentially be more enforced laws, a potential one world government. Oh, righto, it's obviously too hard to coordinate different countries and different ways of living, ways of relating, different laws. So let's just all congregate and have it under one banner as a one world government. And to me, with the 2030 agenda and everything in the future, potentially, that makes the most sense to me. The other side you could look at it is a more positive one. The QAnon movement, the Q operation. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I'm very, very aware of that. And I'm skeptical because it gives people hope in a way, but also I've been watching it for years and nothing's actually happened from what they've said. So I don't know.
And that's it. That's it. Very, very skeptical myself as well. I haven't done too much deep digging into it, but I'm very much aware of what the notion of it entails. And that is basically 7 military personnel and supposedly 3 non-military personnel within the group of 10 people. And this group was created after the assassination of JFK. And these people got together and infiltrated certain clubs and parts of the world to bring down the corruption and expose it. And they say the way that a snake eats its prey, it does it in a very slow format. It strangles it, it makes sure it's lifeless, and it slowly engulfs it. So there's people in the Q movement that say, oh, just wait, everything will be fine. It's just a slow process. This is why we're seeing all these things add up. And don't get me wrong, a lot of things do add up. There's also a substantial amount of things that don't add up as well. But so I have heard through the Q movement is Iraq is involved in this as well. That's why we're seeing the war with Iran. They want to remove the militias in Iran and take the influence that they have out of Iraq so Iraq can be free and sovereign and re-enter the world stage again and revalue its currency. I've heard once Iraq revalues its currency, the dominoes are going to fall quite quickly after that, and the whole global economic system is going to change. So it's interesting that you said that. And that's a more positive way of looking at it. There's 2 ways, and I don't think we really know, and that's the beauty of it. So it's really out of our control, and I think that goes back to the premise of just surrendering and just letting it happen, surrendering to what is. There's no point in trying to hold resistance or malice or any strong emotion toward what is happening on the global scale. Sometimes it's better just to surrender and just to focus on yourself, focus on your community, and the rest will work itself out, and have hope in the universe.
Yeah, because I've had to go through that myself, of being aware of all these things and feeling the enragement within me. Like, why the fuck is no one doing anything about this? How is this happening and no one's going the peaceful protesting? A part of me is like, we need to violently protest and take over the government houses. But obviously that's just a destructive nature of my mind. And I think that's what they want, they want people to feel so fucking hopeless that they'll show you the truth right in front of your face. We're not going to do anything about it. It's just going to continue, you know? How helpless do you feel as humanity? So, it's funny you said 2030. I was listening to Lee Harris. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lee Harris. He's intuitive, and he tapped into different sources from outside of this planet and he channels. And he said 2030 is going to be the year of where they're trying to push. The darkness is trying to take control. But this is the year where light energy is going to fight back more. From now, 2026 to 2030, it's going to, there's a massive battle going on between love and evil, light and dark, whatever you want to call it. But 2030 is when the massive battle begins. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm very interested in it. And like you said, nobody really knows. But why feed the darkness? Feed the love, feed the light. Pray for your brothers and sisters who are connected, who do have a soul, who are on this planet in a soulful body that want to emit love. Send love their way to countries, to the world, to your neighbours, because it will reach them and it might give them that little bit of energetic boost to stay strong, stay sovereign, to not feed that energy anymore. And even this conversation, as deep and as dark and as back in the day, people on these guys are fucking conspiracy theorists, which is another word which has been implanted to make people look insane for questioning the narrative. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting few years, and the changes are going to be huge. And I think we need to be adaptive as humans. We need to be physically prepared as men. Like, get in good shape, go to the gym, sort your mind out, meditate, journal, be around good, healthy men. So
Yep.
if shit does go down, you're not fat, unhealthy, uneducated.
Yep.
You're going to be the first one to go, you know?
And that's the thing, man. Change starts as an individual. We're always talking about change. How can we overthrow the government? How can we this? How can we that? Everyone's always outsourcing their power. Change starts with you. Truly. Once you change yourself, if you're in a state of poor health, if your mind isn't where it should be, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, change begins with you. When you come into your center and want to change and slowly start to achieve that, your world opens up, your perception opens up, your energy bodies open up. You allow more energy in from source consciousness to filter through down in a much more purified way to give you source energy, to give you information that is much more true and aligned with who you are. If you are living out of alignment, and if you're abusing drugs, if you are eating unhealthy, if your physical vessel is toxic, you give yourself no hope. Once you start to clean from the ground up, eating good nutrition, drinking good water, getting good sleep, moving, breathing, thinking, getting sunlight, getting your feet on the earth, all these simple things, it creates a coherent state in the physical vessel. It allows for more capacity, for more energy to be received. You allow your path to reveal itself. And that's what people need to understand. It's never over. It is never over. You can always change. You can always be a better version of yourself, but don't be trying to change anything if you haven't looked inside yet. You must change yourself before you can change anything else. And there's true power in that.
Yeah, it's the only way. You can never change anybody else with force. It's through action and through being of example to people. It gets me thinking on the foods, and a lot of people mindlessly eating foods from Coles, Woolies, all these big chain supermarkets that are literally selling poison to people. Wake up, they're selling fucking poison. Start reading the ingredients of what you're eating. If it's got all these crazy ass named ingredients, you probably shouldn't be feeding it to yourself, and you probably shouldn't be giving it to your kids. Start questioning your water that you're drinking. Are you drinking it from government sourced supply from your taps? What have they put in there? Do you know? Do you test it? No. So even organic foods, question the authenticity of the organic food. I've worked for an organic farm. They spray it with shit that's not organic, and they get certified organic. So I ask them, I was like, what do you use to spray your foods? Because you do still need to spray some crops, but with an organic dipel, and that keeps it not systematic. It doesn't go into the stems, it washes off, etc. So
and that's the thing as well. It's funny. People know their barber, people know their electrician, they know their plumber. But when it comes to a farmer, why don't people know their farmer? Why do people not know their local farmer? Get to know your farmer. Go over and meet your farmer. Share connection with your farmer. Ask questions. Know how much effort it takes to get your food from the soil to your plate, because I'll tell you now, it's not an easy process. And those farmers that are farming and utilizing organic practices, they are the backbone of this country. Organic produce is only 4 to 6% of the population. That means 4 to 6% of people, if that, are consuming organic food. The rest is conventional. That's scary, man. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, chemical fertilizers, and more being laced all over the food. There was actually a study conducted, and there was a lady by the name of Virginia Worthington, and she conducted studies ranging from the 1920s to the late 1990s. And it was 1,230 published studies that she analysed in the comparison between organic and conventional produce. She found that organic produce had high levels of nutrient value or lower levels of toxicity in 56% of the comparisons. 56% of the comparisons. This is going back years ago, mate. Do you know what that would be now? It would probably be up near 80%. That's scary, man. People filling their body with not only produce that is lower in nutrient values, but just full of toxins. And the body, think of the body as an empty glass. We only have the capacity to take on so many toxins until that glass starts overflowing And then we start expressing symptoms, whether that's fevers, whether that's disease, other forms of illness, cancer. These things don't just come out of the blue. They are there for a reason, and is the body constantly nudging us that something is out of alignment and something needs to change. And the reality is, we are growing as a consciousness. We are elevating the vibration, but there's still a lot of families out there which are just generic families, most of the population, drinking tap water, providing the kids with cereal, buying conventional produce, and just living in these ways, giving their kids iPads as well from an early age. This is the norm because we've created this, and these parents have no broader awareness to see the ramifications that this is going to have. The autism rates are now 1 in 10, I believe. By 2030, it's said to be 1 in 2. Back in the 1900s, autism wasn't even a thing. 1 in 10,000 in the 1980s, I believe. It's scary stuff, man. So if we continue on this trajectory without forcing change and without bringing awareness to all of this, change isn't going to happen. And it truly does start with us as individuals. It starts with nourishing your body, and it starts with all these simple things. And once you do that, you have so much more access to infinite possibilities, to infinite best versions of yourself.
What do you think people can do right now who are listening to this today to make impactful changes? Like, I know we've spoke about meditation and eating healthy, and there's a lot of many different things, isn't there? But there's no real, well, there is a textbook, really. There's a lot of things you could do, but what would be your advice to someone? What's the hard truths people need to hear right now?
Yeah, you need to make it black and white, man. If you can't be honest with yourself, you certainly can't be honest with anyone else. You need to be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself, man. Look in the mirror and tell yourself the truth. If you're fat, you're fat. If you got shit relationships, you got shit relationships. Maybe you need to surround yourself with better people. Face the home truths and make it black and white. And I know it can be so overwhelming to lead a healthy lifestyle and to want to change and become better because there's a million different things you can do. And the reality is there's no right or wrong way to achieve something. Just take it day by day. Small incremental steps day by day, whether it's purchasing a water filter one day, and then maybe 2 weeks later you remove the deodorant because you know deodorant doesn't serve any purpose and it's filled with aluminum. So you remove that as well and switch to natural deodorant. And you just slowly make incremental shifts over the course of whatever time frame that looks like for you. There's no rush. There's no timeline. And you'll look back in the past and think, wow, not only has my health come leaps and bounds, but my environment has completely changed. And the environment will reflect what is held internally by oneself. And what is held internally by one's self is dramatically shifted with all of these small changes because you increase your health and vitality. A byproduct of that is elevation of the vibrational frequency, and the universe shows you evidence of that. All of a sudden, you're in a house close to nature. Oh, wow, cool. Isn't that funny? A couple of years ago, I was living in a Wi-Fi, non-native electromagnetic field polluted city, and now I'm out in nature. But what did I do in the period of that to happen? I made all of these shifts. So the big shifts happen when the small foundations are in place, and you can't forget the foundations because they are what really propels the big shifts. But it's all about just starting with you and making small changes, bro, and not getting too overwhelmed and running your race, not running anyone else's race, running yours.
Yeah. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, but use their progression and use their energy as fuel for you to do better as a human, to improve your life, not only for yourself, but for humanity.
For sure. And I think the most pertinent point out of that is just making it black and white. Be transparent and honest with yourself. Be honest, man. Yeah. Because if you can't be honest, nothing's going to change. You're going to constantly lie to yourself. You're going to constantly let the shadows run your realm, run your reality. There's no harm in being honest with yourself and allowing these shadow aspects to come to the surface, making them feel safe so they can integrate. Because if you keep lying, if you keep judging, if you keep suppressing, those shadows get bigger and bigger and bigger until they all come out because that lid, that pressure cooker, has got no more capacity to hold that energy. Just being kind, not judging. Because if they feel judged, if parts of you feel ashamed or judged, they're not going to come to the surface and they're not going to integrate. So being honest, being black and white, and not judging yourself, because the reality is that we are our own worst enemy. We are the only people in our way from the worst version of us and the best version of us. It is us.
Yeah.
It truly is us.
Yeah. Being aware of your mind of when you are trying to achieve something. Like for me personally, is posting content of myself. I feel that thought come up of this old self-sabotage. Like, there's people from your hometown that are going to see this, that are probably going to judge you, that are probably not going to like what you're saying, or it's going to trigger one of their shadows, and they're going to project it onto me. Don't post. But then the other part of me goes, do they really care that much? Are they going to be, do they really care about me that much if I die? It's not really going to make much of a difference. So even my family, either they're going to support it because I'm speaking from an authentic truth, or they're not. And that's something I've come to accept, is that not everyone's ready to hear the story. Not everyone's ready to hear the message. People will listen to this podcast and it may trigger them. They may get angry. It may bring up a lot of resentment to me and you. It's okay. But there will be some other people that listen to this and go, they're speaking from the truth. They're speaking from the heart. This resonates with me perfectly. And that is a win for me. That's why I do it, because I want to connect with the people that are on my frequency. We're all on different frequencies. Keep putting out your frequency, keep raising your frequency, and you'll keep attracting that frequency. Don't focus on the people that don't support you. Don't focus on the people that give you hate. Focus on the ones that support you, love you, give you support and courage and strength to keep on going, and stop giving a fuck what people think, because we are going to die one day. And I say this a lot, and it's a good reminder for me that keep going, because life is short. Life is precious. Yeah, you don't have a time scale of when you need to start evolving, but start fucking right now, today. Time is very precious. So you might wait till New Year's resolution or your birthday or an event or whatever, or you might wait till your life hits a super rock bottom, which sometimes it has to happen. But if you can start today, just one small step, and continue it each and every single day. Start with your 5 minutes of breath work. 5 minutes. Start with, should I be eating this food right now? This dirty burger from McDonald's? Is this helping fuel my body? Is it helping fuel my mind? Should I keep scrolling and watching mindless shit that's no longer serving me? Should I turn the news off today because it's actually feeding me with fear, and I'm just going to be sharing it all over my story about stuff that I don't really know about? Small steps every single day.
And that's it, bro. Where attention goes, energy flows in every way, shape, and form. And it's so important to remember that no one is perfect. Perfection is not real. It's not a real concept within any human. No one is perfect. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to fail. You're going to do things that you're not proud of. It's about being okay with that. When I got off drugs and alcohol, it was still not perfect. There were still times when I relapsed. There were still times when I had thoughts that didn't serve me, or when I carried out deeds that didn't serve me. I'd be sitting there scratching my head thinking, I thought I was done with this. But it's about loving that and being okay with that. And the more that you can love that and integrate that, the more that it can just mold and bridge continuity with you. So don't be so hard on yourself, and understand that we are the only people in our way. And once you can just step outside gently of your way every now and then, things just get better. And it all starts with you. It all starts with one step.
Yeah. Like you said, you can either be your biggest critic or you can be your biggest support. So there's them two kind of voices in your head.
Yeah. And there's an old saying, it's, would you speak to anyone like you speak to yourself? And for 99% of people, no. Because we are our biggest critics, because we are quite harsh on ourselves, and we wouldn't project that onto anyone else because that's inflicting malice on people. Well, why would we spend so much time consciously saying that to ourselves? It doesn't make sense, because we come first. We come first. You have to come first, and then you can serve the community around you, and then you can serve the all, your greater purpose. But if you haven't served yourself first, none of that's achievable.
So true. If you're like, for example, my family and my daughter is a massive inspiration and a massive motivation for me to continue to keep pushing myself, my mind, my body, my belief system. It gives me purpose to strive for better, to strive for more, but also to take a moment sometimes to realize how far I've come, comparing myself to the way I was 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Sometimes I find it really challenging to actually sit and take a moment and go, you've done amazing things, because this is the mountain I'm up, but I've also got so many other mountains that I'm wanting to conquer that I sometimes forget how many mountains I've come up to get to this point, because I'm so fucking hungry to get to this one. So it's a good reminder for myself to actually be grateful for where I am right now, with the conscious level I'm at, with the health I'm at, because there's so many other people that are still at the bottom of this mountain looking up at me going, I wish I was there. And the same for me, I'm looking up at other people going, I wish I was there. But now I use that as fuel, as inspiration, as kind of guidance, that if these guys can do it, fucking good on them. I'm super happy for them. I want to be there as well. So, but like you said before, being kind to yourself and making mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, it means you've never tried, and you're stuck in your comfort zone. If you're stuck in your comfort zone, you don't grow. If you don't grow, you stay in the same cycle, the same loop that you've been stuck in for years, and your life's not changing. So keep trying, keep failing, keep making mistakes. Every time you do, you learn something new. Live with compassion, live with hope, be vulnerable, and keep going. That's a message that comes through for me.
Beautiful, bro. Abundance, gratitude, the ultimate form of receivership, gratitude. You mentioned that a lot in this talk today, and it's powerful, bro. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Seeing things with the glass half full instead of seeing things with the glass half empty. Feeding the good energy, not the bad energy, and things will slowly start to be revealed in your life in a positive manner.
Yeah, because everyone is going through pain. Everyone is going through suffering. Everyone is trying to do, not everyone, but a lot of people are trying to do their best in this reality that we live in. So I kind of I went off into a tangent then. But yeah, keep emitting as good of a vibration as you can for this world. And 100%. Breathe.
100%, bro. The breath is very important, brother. Very important. And it's actually something that I've struggled with my whole life as well, the breath. And as soon as we're born, the first thing that we do is take a breath. As we're going out of this world, the last thing that we do is take a breath also. And oxygen is actually a very paramagnetic substance, and the tissues and water within the body is diamagnetic. So when we bring in oxygen, it sets the differential charge to fuel our bodily systems. If you're not getting enough oxygen, there's so many downstream effects that are affected by that. And I haven't been able to breathe properly my whole life for certain things. Body just didn't feel safe enough. And I had a really powerful session with one of my mentors, and I was actually explaining to him what I explained to you with the Tai Chi. I journaled about it and wrote a few pages down. And as I was reading the passage from my journal, I started to choke up. I was like, oh no, sorry, mate. Like, I just tried to hold in the tears as much as I could. I had my eyes really wide and tears started coming out. And we shared such a special moment, man, because in that moment, I was just so present. The energy shared in that space between Tay and myself was just so magnetic. And it was this unconditional love that was immense, coursing through the whole field, both of our physical vessels. And all of a sudden, after sharing such a powerful connection with each other and sharing that experience, I noticed that my breath was a lot lighter. And all of a sudden I was accessing different parts of my breath that I hadn't yet accessed before. I was feeling my back expand more. I was feeling my diaphragm drop that little bit more. And I remember saying, I can breathe. Like, I can breathe. And it was noticeable. It was very profound. And Tay got me to lay down and took me through a beautiful meditation, and we just solidified the physiological changes that had taken place in that instant and ingrained that. And it's just such a powerful reminder that change can happen like that. Your soul loves you so much, and your soul will do everything for you. All you have to do is surrender. All you have to do is truly believe and let the walls down, let the lower mind feel safe so you can be in that higher mind. And after experiencing that, such a beautiful person, Tay, he's an amazing man. And after experiencing that connection, it just really opened up my whole perception even more. I've had a lot of plant ceremonies like mushrooms that I've engaged with, and nothing has been as profound as that. And just a powerful reminder how much access we have to ourself and to anything that we ask upon when we surrender.
What do you think happened in that moment?
I completely let the walls down, bro. I felt so naked, felt so vulnerable in every way, shape and form. And I just surrendered completely. And
did that look like a lot of crying?
Yeah.
A lot of snot.
Yeah. I was crying, man, quite a lot. And I could feel that it was tears that had been suppressed, but it was also tears of joy and happiness and unconditional love as well. I just felt so loved in that space. I felt so hugged by the energy, by my soul. And it was just a very profound experience in that way that allowed me to feel safe enough to actually process those physiological changes, access that breath, because all of a sudden my body felt safe enough that it could do what it needed to do. My soul showed me what was possible. And still now, just my breath, man. I've been struggling with it for so long, and in an instant it's fixed. And it's quite powerful, bro. It's quite powerful.
Yeah. I've seen and heard and witnessed how quick things can change in life for the better and for the worse. So how important do you think having someone like Taylor, is it?
Taylor Cecil.
Taylor,
Yeah.
how important do you think it is having a man like that in your life plays for you to feel safe and released and vulnerable? And do you think having men around you to be able to be vulnerable and cry around is super important for men in general?
For sure, man. For sure. It's so important to not only have mentors in your life that you aspire to be, that you truly look up to, that align with you and your mission here, but it's important to cultivate that space to feel safe enough to release emotions in that space. And everyone needs that person to share those experiences with. And I'm so lucky, mate. Tay has changed my life in more ways than one, as have many other people, many other mentors that I've worked with in the past. But it's wise to have a mentor. It's wise to be surrounded by energy that truly aligns with you, so you have more capacity to express yourself and to be the most authentic and raw version of you. And Tay is as powerful and as beautiful as they come, and he's truly an incredible man in more ways than one. And to have him around and others means the world to me, bro. It means the world, because as much as I love my family, I love my mother, I love my father, we don't share the same values in terms of what I want from this life, what I want to provide for this life. My dad worked so hard and he gave us everything he possibly could. He literally took the shirt off his back for us, and I will love them always. And I'm so appreciative of that. But I don't want to work like that. I've already tried that as an electrician for 8 years, slogging away at something that I was really good at, but I was constantly facing resistance, roadblocks, resistance. Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to do this? The alarm goes off in the morning. Oh, not again. To all of a sudden having minimal money coming in, yet feeling so abundant and knowing that this is my greater purpose, knowing that there will be an abundance of money in future to come, and trusting it. And I'm getting goosebumps as I say this, but it's so true, because when you're living in alignment, nothing else matters. So to have people around that perhaps may not be family that you can listen to and take guidance from cuts so much of the guesswork out. And it is one of the most profound ways to change your life and to become the person that you wish to be.
You're a product of your environment and the people you spend your time with.
In every way, shape and form, brother.
Protect
every
your
way,
energy.
shape and form.
Yeah. Yeah, it's completely different now comparing our lives in this world to our parents' life when they was growing up. Just the amount that's happened from then to now in terms of everything, in terms of the internet, in terms of technology, in terms of the way we live, in terms of expenses and information and knowledge that's out there. Going doing a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, trying to work your way up a career ladder in a job that you don't like is not as admirable as it was back then in the day, because they could do that as a family and they'd work and they'd have the children and they'd pay off a house. They'd be able to do that and pay off a house. This day and age, you do that 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, can just about, afford to be in this country, in Australia. So I see why people want more and why they want to change their lives from that old narrative. So yeah, adaptability is the word that comes to mind. You have to be adaptable and you can't conform to the same old belief systems of the way that we used to work back in the day, because things are changing and they will continue to change. So educate yourself, continue to be ready for change, because it's going to change. The world is fucking changing rapidly at the moment. I don't know if you feel it, but more than ever, I feel like time's sped up. I don't know if it's when I'm getting older, I'm realizing all this shit. It's already March, nearly April. My daughter's nearly 3. I'm like, holy fucking shit! Life is not slowing down. Things are changing. I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years, but I can vision it and keep doing things today and every day to try and become the best version and try and give my family the best possible chance to live a free and abundant life. And it's not just money either. Obviously, money plays a massive factor in this realm, and having more of it unlocks more freedom. But the real wealth is health. That's where it all starts from, and it comes back to the message, comes back to yourself. Health is wealth. Take care of yourself, fill your own cup, fill your own energies, emit it to people around you, and step by step, the world will change.
100%, bro. Said it the best.
Yeah. There's one last topic that comes to mind, and I wasn't going to speak about it, but I want to, because I'm very curious, and I've seen you on your videos eating raw chicken, and yeah, have you debunked salmonella? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the information that I have acquired, and one of the people that I study the work of is called Arjunus von der Planets, and he was very, very controversial. He was a man that pretty much pioneered the raw diet. That includes raw fats, a lot of raw meat, and certain vegetable juices as well. And all of his work was based around detoxification, because the reality is it wasn't so necessary to detox 200 years ago. But now it certainly is, with all the toxins in our environment that we are currently exposed to. So by eating raw meat, you're eating meat in its most alive form. The enzymes are not damaged. The proteins are not denatured. It is much more easy to digest, and it assimilates a lot easier than cooked foods. And if you want to take it a step further, you can look at a study called Pottinger's cats. And this study was conducted of 2 groups of cats. One group was fed pasteurized milk and cooked meat. The other was fed raw milk and uncooked meat, raw meat. And the degeneration that happened in just 4 generations, I believe it was significant of the study of cats that had the cooked foods. And that's without anything else. That's without the seed oils. That's without the sprayed gluten. That's without the heavy metals, all the nonsense. So you look at that in terms of humans. Where are we with the degeneration that's happened? And the work of Weston A. Price is pretty significant in this as well, because he went and studied tribes that had been eating their way of eating compared to tribes that had left the tribe and become more westernized and started eating cooked foods such as the 4 white devils, pasteurized milk, white flour, table salt, which was iodized salt, and also there was one other one in there, it'll probably come to me, but the degeneration that was caused in just one generation when they veered away from their regular way of eating was significant as well. Bone structure, facial symmetry, teeth alignment as well. Teeth became crowded, and you look at these two people that have pioneered this, and it just makes complete sense to me that raw meat is superior in every way, shape, and form. And to take it another layer deeper, not that I've looked into the Epstein files, but supposedly you had people talking to their doctors within these files, whether they be celebrities or politicians, whatever that looks like, I'm not too sure. But the doctors was recommending that these people eat raw meat. And there's a reason for that. Raw meat is superior. And people may say, oh, but it's got bacteria, it's got this, it's got that. With raw chicken, it has salmonella, yes. Salmonella is present within the human body too, though. And Argenis was really big on the fact that these bacterias are all solvents. So if you're eating raw chicken and you get sick, that's just a symptom of detox. You're actually detoxifying toxins stored in the body. But the white raw meat facilitates this. It's very nourishing. It's very nourishing to the nervous system. And it has a lot more nutrients that are left intact within that as well. The same as rotten meat. Storing glass jars of rotten meat and letting that ferment. I haven't personally done this yet, but you just let it ferment and ferment and ferment. And over time, it'll just build bacteria and build bacteria. And you can actually eat that. It's called high meat. And high meat's nothing new. The natives and the primitives used to do that. And because it has and builds so much bacteria in it, it becomes almost a pre-digested substance that you can take. It assimilates virtually instantly, feeds your nervous system, and with all that bacteria, all that solvent, it is able to push a lot more toxins out of the body. So it's more or less medicinal. Yeah. And I think with where we are now in terms of bacteria and viruses, I think it's all up in the air. How do we know? How can Argenis heal so many people, not only himself, but so many people, detox vaccines, and generate the results that he was if raw meat is bad for you. And you can tell when toxins leave the body because his work was based around iridology as well. You can see toxins in the iris. And when toxins start to become removed from the body, the iris begins to clear up to its natural form. And I just think there's so many questions. And even when it comes to viruses, what is a virus? A virus has never been isolated in nature. It's not naturally occurring in nature. It's always added with certain substances and then it's called a virus. I don't know. I haven't made my opinion on that yet, but Argenis was massive on terrain theory. And terrain theory is the internal state of your body supporting your terrain. And yeah, I just think there's so many questions surrounding the modern medical industry because everything is built upon lies and fallacies. And if you want to go and look at viruses and them being a logical fallacy, you can look at the work of Alec Zeck. He has a lot of great podcasts and he puts a lot of light on the area as well. I can't confidently speak on that, but I'm not sold that viruses are real, is what I'm alluding to. And I'm not sold that bacteria is bad for you because I've been on this raw diet now for a solid 3 months. I started last year, although it wasn't consistent. I added a little bit of raw foods here and there, and I've been consistent with it this year. And I can tell you now, I feel so much better off raw meat. I feel better. I look better. I sleep better. I perform better. My energy's better. Isn't that the ultimate litmus test? If you are feeling better and all of these markers are improving, why do I need anyone else to tell me that raw meat's bad for me? I just think it's lunacy.
It's true. Have you tried it and tested it? And when you first started eating raw chicken, did you ever get sickness?
No. And that's because my terrain is healthy. My inner terrain was already healthy. I've been looking after myself for years now. So if you're someone that adopted the raw diet and if you're in a state of poor health, I wouldn't recommend going all out and just eating a whole bunch of raw foods because it's very detoxifying. Repairs tissue, pushes toxins out, and you will express detox symptoms. And a close friend of mine has just figured this one out because went straight into eating it and expressing all these symptoms. And I just said, it's probably fine. It's just a detox symptom. So it's wise to adopt the diet in a slow, incorporative way where you slowly incorporate the raw foods, see how you feel, see how your body performs, see what you like, and just build from there. And I can honestly say at the start, it wasn't so enjoyable because I was still getting used to it, all the programming.
Yeah, even me thinking about eating raw chicken, I can already feel the programming of, salmonella, salmonella, that's disgusting.
Yep.
But
and that's what it is, man. It's just a bunch of indoctrination and a bunch of programming. When we are programmed so heavily from such a young age, how do we have the capacity to think otherwise? And it was hard for me, even when I come upon this information and when I started looking into it. I was like, these guys are clowns, mate. These guys have no idea what they're talking about. And the more I started looking, the more I started listening, the more I started observing without judgment, started to think, no, there's got to be something here. Why don't I just give it a go? And what's the worst that could happen? And I'm trying to rebuild my gut. I'm trying to repopulate as much bacteria in my gut as I possibly can because I took a drug for my acne called Roaccutane that completely wiped my gut bacteria out. So the gut, as we know, is linked to every other part of the body and it affects every other part of the body as well. So for me, the easiest way for me to reach point A to point B to where I want to go is eating a lot of raw meat, eating a lot of fermented meat, eating clabbered milk that's been sitting out for months and doing all these things that's so demonized. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy and do that because that is going to benefit me and I know that. So, and there's the other aspect of the more you get into the diet and the more that the programming becomes less and the more that you start to accept it because you're embodying it, the more that your body will ask for that and the more that your body's going to thrive on that. I remember being on a recent 7-day fast and I just couldn't stop thinking about raw lamb and raw egg yolks. That's all I wanted. And I've never been one to crave raw meat, but since being on the diet, that's all I'm craving, raw meat. Tastes better, looks better, feels better. And yeah, I'm not here to say that I don't eat cooked foods anymore because I definitely do here and there if I eat out or whatever that looks like, but it's mostly more raw meat and it makes me feel amazing.
Wow. Yeah, the thought of me eating raw chicken, and we've had this discussion before, I could already, even egg yolks, man, like raw eggs, it makes me gag. I've tried it and it makes me gag, and yeah, maybe one day I'll be able to try it. I've got that fear of salmonella is there, bro. Like you say, it's a detoxifying event, and my brain's going, that sounds fucked. You're gonna get sick straight away, but I've obviously not educated myself as much as you have on this matter. So how am I to say that's wrong when it's actually working for you? And your gut is connected to your whole body, your brain. Makes sense that they demonize something that's good for you. And it makes sense to why they'd spray your foods with toxins and poisons and herbicides and fertilizers. And it makes sense to why they'd give you water that ruins your internal structure of your gut, because ultimately it disconnects you from you and your source and your pineal gland and your higher intelligence.
Exactly right. Everything that they demonize is usually worth exploring, is usually worth looking the other way. Up is down and down is up in this reality a lot of the times. And they say E. coli is bad, salmonella is bad. All these things are quote unquote the villains. They're just at the site of cleanup because they are the solvents detoxifying. Bacteria work as solvents. They remove toxins from the body. They are at the site because of that reason. Just because a fireman puts out a fire doesn't mean that he's the causation of the fire. And this is where we are with everything. And I think the more that we dive into this and the more that we uncover different parts of literature and explore different avenues, the more that we can create a more grounded approach. Because to me, the viruses, the vaccines, and the modern medical industry doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No sense. And I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't have its place, because the reality is modern illnesses require modern solutions sometimes, because we have created this. So sometimes to reverse engineer that, we have to work in a more practical way that requires modern intervention, which is medicine, which is all these things. So they definitely have their place, but they only have their place because we have put ourselves in a situation that requires their place via certain individuals with nefarious agendas. And raw meat is superior, bro. What can I say? What can I say? When I get sick, I'll let you know.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Like you say, you do the opposite of what they push. Man, to be aware of that it's crazy, isn't it? That's the world we live in. That everything that they tell us to do is usually the thing that's the worst for us. All the systems they've put in place is harm rather than to do good for humanity and for the vibrations. How do you deal with knowing so much of that? Like, how do you not let it create anger and infuriation of knowing? I mean, it's empowering, I guess, as well. But what do you do to continuously feed the love and the light when knowing how much darkness rules this fucking world right now?
The thing that grounds and anchors me is I've gone both ways, bro. The reality is I had my awakening very early. It led me down a very cataclysmic path. I've experienced voices in my head. I've experienced wanting to not be here anymore. I've experienced pushing myself to the brink of almost doing something silly that would have hurt a lot of people. And I know what it's like to be so consumed and the entities to be so strong that you are living in a completely false reality. And that was all stemmed from my perception, looking at everything so negatively, being the victim, and doing things that didn't serve me in a self-sabotaging way and constantly repeating that. So now with a different outlook on life and still having that awareness, but having immersed myself in that experience is much more empowering, bro, because I know what it feels like to feed the negative energy. I know what it feels like to be there. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everything's happy days now, because I still sometimes feed negative energy. And with the Bondi shooting, I was livid, and that really brought out a lot of emotions in me because, in my opinion, once again, I think it's a psychological operation. That's another story. But the moral of the story here is that I just do my best to put one foot in front of the other and constantly feed the positive energy, because I know the more that I do that, not only the more it positively affects me, but it positively affects the people around me and the collective itself. And there's power in that. As you said, it is empowering to sit in that field of energy as much as you can. It is power, bro. It is power to ignore the nonsense and to be strong enough and to have your field expand out big enough that it can't even penetrate you. That's what power is.
Shines so bright that you expose all the shadows.
Exactly right,
untouchable.
And the more that you expand your auric field, your energy bodies, the more that you cleanse your chakras, the more that you're open to source, the more that you're vibrating as an authentic, radiant version of yourself, the less influence that all of these nonsense people can have on you, or nonsense things can have on you. It can't penetrate or permeate your field because your field is vibrant, it's strong, it's who you are. Don't fuck with me. That's the type of energy you need to carry.
Yeah, it is that. It's the true warrior of being don't fuck with me, but also being a warrior that can face his pains and his traumas and release them, but then stepping back into the true power of a man as a man should be.
Yep.
You know, protector, provider,
Yep.
energetic lifter. You know, there's no use as a man feeding the negative, feeding the victim, feeding the weak, lower mind. There's use in leveling up and training, boxing, running, meditating, going around other men, take your shit to them, cry with them, be vulnerable with them, come back to your family strong, but also vulnerable if you need to be, you know? So yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it, of people think you want to be a warrior, you've got to be tough and you can't show emotions and you've got to lift weights, but it's like, to get to that point, you also need to release all the old programming, all the old pains and the traumas, and then come out of it, have brothers that see you, support you, but then go, let's fucking go for a run. Let's go and punch a bag. Let's go and just camp for a night around a fire or something. Go and connect with nature. So, yeah.
And that's it. It's the yin and yang dynamic of who we are. The feminine and the masculine. We have to step into both archetypes where necessary. It's not all about being the tough guy and look at me and I can do this. It's about being the lover too, being emotional, being vulnerable, dealing with your stuff, and then also stepping into that warrior when need be, also stepping into that leader when need be, that bright light. It's about being malleable and knowing when to step into what. And that happens by living authentically. It comes naturally via intuition. It's not a thought. It's not anything. It's just a natural byproduct of existing and participating from being your natural radiant self.
Do you know what comes to me? If I could give one piece of advice to any man listening to this right now, if you're not doing any physical sort of exercise, fucking start. Because as soon as you start shifting your identity, as soon as you start setting your alarm, you get up, and even if you just do a 1 kilometer run, or you do 100 press ups, or you do something which is going to push your physical body, but also your mental body, that is when you start to shift. Because you do a run, the last thing you want to do is come back and eat a fucking big fat breakfast that's going to make you feel sluggish. You're going to actually want to drink more water. You're going to maybe get some protein into you. You're then going to start to embody someone that is healthy. So health, again, is wealth. If you're unhealthy and you can't run and you can't, physically lift stuff, or, obviously if you've got medical conditions, fair enough. But if you're an able man and you're not doing anything to really test yourself physically, I think start there. What would you say?
For sure, man. For sure. I'm a big believer that health starts in the physical and then it can just build from there as well. But health really starts in the mind. It starts in the psyche. But a part of allowing the psyche to come together with the inner child and to start to integrate into who you really are is cleaning out your physical vessel and giving it a chance. Because if your body's toxic, your mind's going to be toxic as well. They work hand in hand, but it all filters down from the top. But once you start to clean out your body, all those unhealthy thoughts, they become more manageable. Once again, the glass, you start to remove water, the glass starts to drain, and one block on top of the other. But physical is such a massive part, and I believe it's the first part that people should really address. And that's what the guys at Native State do. That's what I personally do as well, and addressing the physical, and then we can start to add other modalities on top of that as well.
How important do you think fasting is in this day and age?
I'm massive on fasting, man. And once again, everyone has their different opinions. Arjunus was not pro-fasting. I am. Once again, I've done it a lot. It's been a massive part of my life, and I've seen a massive amount of physiological changes that have happened from fasting, not just in the body, but definitely in the mind as well. Do I think it's necessary for everyone? Probably not. Do I think everyone has the capacity to do it? Probably not. It requires a lot of willpower, requires a lot of discipline. It's not easy, and requires a lot of self-introspection too, because in the absence of food, you have so much more coming in that may filter up, that you haven't dealt with, that you have suppressed. And if you're not ready to deal with those things and are still geared towards distracting yourself, well, I don't think you'll get as many benefits as you probably could, because it's not just a physiological process. It's the mind, the body, the spirit, the emotions. That's all addressed when it comes to fasting. But I just think it's such a tool that if anyone's interested in it, for sure, especially with chronic illnesses, if you're facing any chronic health conditions, me personally, if I had cancer or some chronic disease that I wanted to heal, I would fast for a prolonged period of time, whether that's water fasting or dry fasting. I would do it in a safe environment that supported me, and coupled with the mind and the, once again, belief that you could truly heal, and thought and felt into that, coupled with the fasting and all those wonderful processes that happen like autophagy and mitophagy and all that deep cellular clean out that occurs while fasting. Man, you can heal anything. And I think it's really powerful. It's a powerful tool.
For someone listening who's never fasted, what would be a good starting point for it to actually make an effective change? Is it 24 hours, 3 days? Is there a minimum?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a minimum or maximum, whatever that looks like for you. Just making sure that the preparation's right, and then coming out of the fast is right as well. That's more important on an extended fast. If you're looking at a 24 to 72 hour fast, just start somewhere and just see how you go. Good hydration, good quality minerals / sea salt in that water to properly hydrate the body down to the cellular level, good sleep, rest where need be, exercise where need be, sauna if you want. Just do stuff intuitively that feels right. But when you're looking at more extended fasts, I like to take an approach that really cleans the digestive tract out before you actually fast. So this includes eating a lot of hydrating fruits, because fruits contain a lot of water, nutrients, and fiber to continue to push stuff out of the digestive tract, to clean it out basically. You don't want any meat or anything putrefying in your colon whilst on a fast, or your small intestine. And then coming out of the fast as well, really gently with some fruit, with some yogurt, whatever that looks like. But over the years, if you fast, the more you fast over the years, the more that you will develop an intuitive sense as to what your body needs. And that's the beauty of it. But I really like fruit around fasting. It's just really easy on the digestive system. And because your digestive system's been awake, been asleep for so long during an extended fast, you don't just want to wake it up like that with some dense, heavy protein that the body's going to be like, wow, we need to get our hydrochloric acid functioning again and all these bile secretions and everything else in between readily available again to be able to actually digest the nutrients in the stomach and through the digestive tract. So gentle, and just feel into it, man. Yeah.
What did it teach you about yourself mentally and when you did your fast?
That I can do anything. That I can literally do anything, man. I remember the first 5-day fast I did was around 2020, 2021, I believe. And I was actually on the job site, funnily enough. And I was drinking black coffee on this fast. So if you want to get technical about it, fasting now, I don't drink black coffee, but it's still a fast because black coffee doesn't break a fast. And
did it suppress the appetite a bit though?
Yeah. And I was doing big hours and stuff, and I just wanted to challenge myself. I was reading into all these spiritual teachers like the likes of Eckhart Tolle, and then that kind of led me to fasting and all these other modalities. And I'm like, oh, I want to try this. And yeah, so I just started fasting there and got through the first 5-day one. And I think I broke that fast with some bone broth and can't quite remember what else, but I think the following day I had KFC or something and found out the hard way that wasn't the thing to do.
Oh, no.
But I've made a lot of mistakes around fasting, whether it be the prep or coming out. I've had refeed syndrome where I just want to eat everything and anything, and I've fasted for 7 days before and literally fed way too much and put on an abundant amount of weight, and it just stresses the body too much. And because the body's so stressed after a fast, all those physiological benefits are actually subtracted to a certain degree. So you just need to be kind to yourself. But fasting is the ultimate form of self-discipline, in my opinion. If you can go days with not eating, especially dry fasting, not eating or drinking water, you just stack proof that you can do anything, because it's not easy, man. It's not easy. Yeah.
I did a 3-day fast. That's the most I've done so far, whilst cooking for my partner, and whilst we, just had a child, I was making them meals every night. And I remember the self-discipline required not to just cave in, and the emotions that come up. On the day 3, I cried a lot because I was just wanting to eat, and it just released so much emotion. And the discipline to say no to the food was such a challenge. But we eat through comfort, and we just eat to eat. We over-consuming food that we don't really need. Like, you need 3 meals a day. You don't need that much food. You just need good quality nutritional food. You don't need heavy breakfast. I used to eat beans on toast for breakfast in England and hash browns and all that, and I'm wondering why I feel fat and sluggish and tired. It's because it's not actually good fuel for the body. So yeah, fasting is, like you said, the ultimate self-discipline test to be able to just think about food so much. You don't realize how much of an impact food has on your life. So to be able to go without it even start with 1 day is easy, man. You can start at 6 p.m. tonight, wake up the next day, don't eat until 6 p.m. the next night. Easy. Challenge yourself a bit more. At least 3 days, I'd recommend, And I did it on juices, like fruit juices. Next time I'm going to do it with water, and then I'll probably try dry. But a dry fast seems... How's that healthy, not drinking water, though? How's that good for you?
Yeah, so, mate, dry fasting is incredible, first and foremost. I personally believe that it is one of the most profound and effective ways to heal the human body, especially when it comes to chronic diseases. And this is back to the foundations, back to the simplicity of what it is. What is it? You're removing all external influences and stripping everything back. And I mean everything to its core. No water, no food, and if you want to go a hard dry fast, no showers. So because your body is in the absence of food and water, it activates its hidden internal reserves, and it has to for survival. So it does wonderful things like breaking down old malignant cells, breaking down fat cells and turning that into something called metabolic water, which internally hydrates the body as well, which is another mechanism we have. And it's just such a profound way to detox in every capacity, because not only the digestive system gets a complete rest, but so do the kidneys. They get a much bigger rest as well, because they're not processing external fluids. So all of a sudden their job is to process internal fluids and remove and excrete any toxins from those, and also purify the blood at a much higher capacity as well. And also because the stomach and the digestive tract has nothing in it, it literally wrings it out and works all that old stuff out until you start releasing. And It's amazing. I remember I had a massive release on about on the last day, I think it was day 5, I had a massive release and all of this old black, disgusting stuff came out of me and it stunk, man. It was like it'd been sitting there for years. And I was like, wow. But Sergei Filanov, his work is amazing. He thinks that even negative entities can leave the body because you actually become a vessel that is no longer enjoyable for these entities to survive in. So energetically, it's powerful as well. But from all other angles, and to remove malignant cells and to go through modalities like autophagy, mitophagy, and all these other beautiful things.
I don't even know what them words mean.
Yeah, autophagy is just the cleanup of house of cells, so any malignant cancerous cells. He explains it in his book like the cells being mini furnaces, hormesis. And those furnaces go through periods where it's called acidotic crises. And within those acidotic crises, you reach different stages during the fast. I think there's a crisis in day 2 to 3 and then maybe day 5 to 7. But the further you go into these acidotic crises and experience those, the more detoxification the body has. And this is when the body becomes really hot. So think of your cells as mini reactors, mini furnaces that literally just self-terminate. And you know you're going through those acidotic crises because the body does get quite hot and you can feel physiological changes taking place within the vessel. But that's where most detoxification happens. And such a profound way of healing. And to go layers deeper as well, there's breatharians out there, man. I don't know if you've heard of breatharians, but these people don't eat, drink, they
Ever.
just live off the land, off the breath, and off the sun.
I'm skeptical.
Look into it. Breatharians.
What, they don't drink water?
No.
Ever?
No. Nothing, bro.
See,
Nothing.
that to me is hard to believe because, yeah, I know you can go without food for quite some time, but to have no water...
It took me a while to wrap my head around it too, to be honest, but getting deeper into this work, it just started to make a lot more sense. Our main source of energy and our main currency is not provided by food. It's actually standing on the earth, getting in the sun, receiving all of those energies and all of that information, which is so dense that our body uptakes to fuel its physiology. Also the air as well. And it's a wonder why they're spraying our airs more now than ever. I don't think breatharians will be around for much longer personally if we still continue on this trajectory and the skies are sprayed, because how much nutrient-rich oxygen is one really getting from that without the chemicals on top of that? But it's really interesting, bro. The body gets to a certain point that it can just self-regulate. Yeah.
It's insane. I'd have to meet a breatharian and see it for my own very eyes because I'm a bit skeptical.
They're very skinny, but yeah, they're definitely out there, bro. Yeah.
And are they healthy, you know?
Very connected to source. When it comes to health, I don't know. What does health look like?
Like how long if say someone that eats food and drinks water, healthy food and healthy water, compared to someone that is a breatharian, what's their lifespan compared to someone that is nutritional? You know,
not too sure.
Exactly, it's hard.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of research that needs doing, but it's interesting. It's an interesting thought, and I'm going to research more about it because I'm skeptical, but it's okay. I question a lot of things.
But how much does that contradict in itself about the breatharians and us needing to have food and all these things?
Yeah.
And it's a massive contradiction.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why in the book, The Kybalion, they state, every truth is but a half-truth. There is no truths.
This is what I mean. In this day and age, what we've been told is there's been a lot of lies, and a lot of our reality is completely different to what we may have thought it was. So there is a possibility that could happen. I know that as beings, we've got so much potential and so much power that we are untapped from, and that we've been separated from through systematic programming. So yeah, I'm open to it, and I'm open to researching it. And you wouldn't have to wash as many pots anyway, would you then? No washing up and no going and growing your own veggies. You just breathe and God. Yeah, but I think I'll start. It's inspiring. I'll start with probably another fast, and it's finding the space and the time and the energy and stop. Because my brain makes excuses. Oh, you've got to go to work and you've got a physical job and you're going to keep, stay healthy with the gym. To try and incorporate a fast into that whilst you're exerting so much energy is something that kind of stops me from fasting right now.
I think it's important to have a solid intention before you actually go on a fast. Why do you want to fast? What are you trying to achieve out of this fast? And what does that look like to you in totality? And with the right intention and the right environment to support that healing, it's powerful. I don't necessarily think if you are working and if you don't feel aligned to fast, maybe it's not the best option for you. Maybe you need more yin time and perhaps 3 days off work, more introspective, and just getting clear on what that looks like. Because I've done 7-day fasts on the tools before with probably not the most solid intentions, just the intention to go on a fast, to do a bit of a cleanup. But it's hard, bro. It's hard being physically demanded to do things whilst you're in the absence of food. It is tough. Yeah. So I think intention behind not just fasting, but anything you do in life is going to be the most important thing behind it.
Yeah. Take a week off work and take a week off the gym just to actually dedicate your discipline to that and to going more into the yin.
Yeah. And I think fasting is such a spiritual experience as well. It allows you to have so much more time to yourself and allows you to process so much more. So the environment is super important on a fast. Super important. So having the right environment coupled with the right intention and the right support around you is just going to be necessary. Yeah.
What's your relationship with God or Source? Do you pray?
God to me is the all, the universe, the divine, whatever that looks like. I don't view God as a physical being in the sky. I don't view God as someone that judges. I don't view God that is someone that expects something of you. I view God of the all that is, and I believe God runs through all of us. Yourself, that tree over there, and God exists everywhere. We come from God, and we are a representation of God, and we return back to God. And to me, that looks like Source. I think that, in my personal opinion, the more that you externalize your power and the more that you view God as someone outside of you in the sky, or the more you externalize your power to some form of religion or whatever that looks like for one's being, I think that you give your innate gift and ability away to something else. And it just doesn't make sense to me personally to externalize my power and to outsource it when the power is within and has always been within. And God loves everyone on this world. God will always love everyone on this world, and unconditionally at that. And when you start to understand that God is truly within at all times, it's empowering, man, because your soul and God, they're both very much connected because your soul returns to God. And I think there's real power in keeping your power within. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I went to a Catholic school, and I remember them, obviously the teacher about Jesus and all this, and I was very skeptical and questioning, as I am in my nature. And the reason why I was questioning, I was like, if there was God, or if there was Jesus, or someone that is, the creator of the world, why are there so many soulless monsters on this world, on this earth? Why is there so many evil people operating in this reality? And that's what kind of started to make me question it a little bit more. Like, why are people dying of painful deaths, and why is there pedophiles and rapists, and why are there all these evil entities running the world? I don't know. That kind of made me question, how could they let that happen? What do you think about that?
I just think if you view life in the lens of it just is one of the best ways to go about it, and just not judging, because it's the duality, it's the polarity, ties into the 7 laws of the universe. Nothing's perfect. And I think that God definitely just runs through us all, and he's expressed in every way, shape and form through all of creation. He just is. And
do you think those people that are soulless no longer have God within them? You think they lost that and they've just not found a way back, and now they've got, call it the devil or Satan running through them, or the
Paul
dark
Chek
side?
always says the bigger you make the devil, Paul Chek always says the bigger you make the savior, the bigger you make the devil. And I think that's so true. You create more polarity in your own relationship with the world. And it's a good question, man. It's something that I've never thought of, to be honest. And I think these people that remove soul and that are happy to make a pact with whatever entity that is to remove their soul, are they connected to God? It begs the question. I don't think so. I don't know. It begs the, I don't know. I could not honestly answer that. But
I honestly feel like that people that are connected to God are connected to the light source, the love, the light energy, and the opposition are connected to maybe a version of the God, but the opposite version of the light source. So it's actually the dark side of the God, you know, and they're connected and feeding that entity. So,
and how do you view God then?
I'm the same as you. I'm more energetic, frequency, what you emit, you receive, how you are to others is how you should be treating yourself, as how you treat others. Yeah, it's not one being. I went to a religious school, but I'm not religious in that sense. I'm more of like just everything is source and just your thoughts and the way you treat people, the way you act with integrity, the way that you can be accountable for yourself and for people around you if you're caring for others. It lives within me, and I'm here. The more I'm realizing that I'm here for a purpose which has been provided for me that I haven't chosen, it's just innate. I've come into this vessel, and there's two births in this world: is when you're born and when you find out the reason why you was born. So I think that's what I'm on right now, is discovering what God, you want to call it, brought me to this earth to do. And I think the more people that can discover their purpose of why they was put onto this earth, their true purpose of why they was put onto this earth, is when you're connected truly to God and you trust that is what you're here to do, and you feel it within your body, like an energetic feel of this feels right, this feels good, you know. So yeah, I think God is just frequency. I think it's energy. I think it's everything around us, how we view it.
And I think it's powerful to remember that they say we're the creators for a reason. We have God within us. God is nothing external to us, although separate in some way, shape, or form. We have a soul that returns back to God, that comes from God, I believe. And knowing that we have something within us that is deeply connected and rooted to God itself, to the all, that is why we are the creators. It is why everything is based off vibration. It is why we are exposed to things constantly, that we are constantly creating. With our mind, with our emotions, with our deeds, we're the creators.
Yeah, and you've played on both sides. You know, you've fed the light energy. You've also had interactions with the dark side, and same for me. I've been on that other side of depression and suicidal thoughts and substance abuse and wanting to take my life, and then coming back on the other side of light and love, and going through that pain is what actually helps us help other people. And I think that's true power, is when you can take the pain from your hardships, alchemize it, and help other people that are also going through the pain. Because that's all I needed back then, and maybe for you as well, is someone there to guide you and someone to show you the way, that this is not the way of self-righteousness and sovereignty and to become the best version of yourself. Maybe try doing this. So that's what inspires me to continue, is to help versions of myself back then for other people that might be going through that. And to just be aware of the darkness, because it's there, and you know, you can focus on the love and the light, but there's still going to be, you know, days where you wake up and you don't want to go to work, or you don't want to do something that's good for you. And it's in those moments where you really need good support systems and discipline and courage and a bit of self-love and softness to know that it's okay to have down days and it's okay to feel these dark feelings, but then also be aware of how to process them and how to get back to this side and try and stay balanced rather than, you know, like you said, the polarities. I've noticed doing a lot of work on my pain, I was very in the emotion and very in the dark energies and releasing all these traumas, and it gets tiring. So then I was like, right, now I need to just stop thinking about my pains and my traumas and actually just be and live and do things that are healthy for me and that are soft, a bit more soft, you know. And then go to the gym, go for a run, get healthy, eat good foods, be around good people. And I think that's just the process of life, is tapping into the yin, tapping into the yang, masculine, feminine, feeling good, feeling bad, but really feeling it and understanding it and accepting that you're going to have days where you're not going to feel great. That's okay. But having a good support system to get you through it, and having the mental discipline from doing a fast, for example, knowing that if I can do a fucking 7-day fast, I can get through today of not wanting to get up or not wanting to do this, I can do it. It gives you that courage to do it.
Exactly right. And having the gift that we're able to provide for others too. And I'm sure you navigate that way with your daughter and your relationship. And that's exactly what I want to do, man. I want to have a loving family one day, and I want to bring my kids up and let them feel safe to express emotions and just give them a bit of tools and navigation toward feeling themselves and knowing that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and feeling okay with being not okay as well, and having power in that, because I feel like that's a massive missing part of this current system, the education system. Yes, we're taught all these things, but just irrelevant. It's really irrelevant in what we learn in school. I don't use any of it. You're never taught how to connect to yourself or how to truly connect to others. You're not taught the fundamentals. You're not taught what nutrition looks like, how to cook, or any of that. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's really a gift that people like you and myself have, that are able to pass on to those that we care about and break that cycle. Yeah.
Knowledge really is power in this day and age. And part of me was feeling a bit like a failure for not having a set amount of financial abundance for my family. Like, you know, to have financial abundance is freedom, to be able to do what you want, go where you want, get what you want without actually questioning it and without worrying or thinking about it. But then I realized real freedom and real provision is from being a supportive partner for my woman, and being a supportive father for my daughter. So when she does feel her emotions, that I have the capacity to just listen and just to be there and just to try and stay grounded when she's feeling all of these wild emotions. So that in itself is powerful, and that in itself is worth more than money can buy. So yeah, I know that money will come. Money is energy. Money is health, how you treat yourself. So start on that. Start with your thoughts and what energy you emit. Start telling yourself that you're tapped into an infinite abundance of resources, and just watch it start flowing. I do it with my gardening some days where I'm like, I ain't got any work next week. I can either feed the fear of, fuck, I've got no work, or I can go, it's all good. I'm supported. Going to make it through. I'm tapped into an infinite support of abundance. All of a sudden my phone will ring and I've got a client that wants me for 3 or 4 weeks. Just boom. Just like that. So the more I've started doing that more recently, the more I'm noticing that I am supported and I am on this path in the perfect moment, even though it feels sometimes like, why the fuck am I still here? I want to be there. You've sometimes got to just be patient and take them small steps to get there. And that's sometimes the hardest part, is knowing where you want to be and being here and trying to get there super fast, but then not enjoying the journey.
Exactly right.
So it's a big challenge for me, is to enjoy the process and not focus on the end result, because you get to the end result,
just in your base camp.
Yeah. But enjoying each mountain climb and actually taking a moment and a breath to look around and realize how far you've come, and not continue to just keep looking for the next number or the next achievement or this or that. Like, I ran half a marathon, and before I even appreciate that I ran half a marathon, I'm like, I want to do a full marathon. Then I'm already thinking of an ultra marathon, and it's like, just fucking be grateful and proud of yourself for doing that in the first place. So I don't know if you resonate with that, but taking a moment to be proud of how far you've come.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I think we're all looking at the pinnacle, or what we think and perceive the pinnacle to be, although there is never a pinnacle, because once we reach that, it just sets the new base camp and the foundation for the next pinnacle. But always struggling with that, man. Always putting too much pressure on myself and thinking that I need to achieve this and then I'll be happy. Once I get this, then I'll be happy. And constantly feeling like sometimes I need to do very hard things to give myself the evidence an internal belief that I can do things. And I was pretty similar. I run a marathon on the 1st of this year, 2025. No training. The most I ran last year was about 5K, only a few times, and said, fuck it, I'm going to run a marathon. Why? Because I just want to prove to myself that I'm about it, you know? Got to about 30 Ks in and, mate, so much pain. My quads were literally ripping off my bone. They were getting that tight, and every step felt like it was just a matter of time until they ripped off. And yeah, ultimately got it done. Did I need to do that? No, but I just constantly feel like I need to do all these hard things just to, I can do that. And I don't, there is power in that, but I don't think you need to go to the extremes all the time to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think people are too comfortable and they're too afraid to put themselves through hardship and through pain. But I feel through pain is where the most growth comes.
Yeah.
And if you're not going through pain or discomfort, put yourself through it.
Yeah.
Put yourself through it. Get up at fucking 5 a.m. and go for a run. Get up at 5 a.m. or even 6 a.m., whatever it is. Go and get in a cold water plunge. Test your mind. Do something that challenges you, you know. It looks different for so many different people, but living in comfort is the biggest killer of progression.
Yep.
Just people getting so comfortable with their mundane lives of, I've got this. And yeah, it's okay to be appreciative of what you've got, but you've got to constantly keep pushing yourself and keep putting yourself through painful events to grow. That's where the most growth happens, is through pain, through, events that are testing of the mind, body, spirit.
So much growth generated in those periods, man. I remember on that run on the 1st of this year, at about 30 kilometers in, maybe just after, I had a pretty profound soul encounter, and my soul was coming through, and it was just giving me the nudge that I should love all these people, Bill Gates, Daniel Andrews, Scotty Morrison. I need to love these people that I think are the villains and that I demonize and hate so bad, because I have a lot of hatred in my heart for these people, and I don't want to like these people, but it just kept coming through and giving me the message of we need to unconditionally love these people for who they are and what they bring to the world. Even though you might not perceive it to be positive, we still need to love these people, because if you can't love yourself, if you can't love these people, then you definitely can't love yourself. It's just a mirror, bro. Everything is a mirror, and the penny really dropped for me when that came through, and it was crazy, bro. I started shedding a couple of tears on the run, and it was very felt. And yeah, it was just something that was so profound. But back to what you said, man, the ultimate form of growth comes in discomfort, for sure.
So did you forgive all these evil villains of the world? Do you forgive them now?
Oh, it's got its ups and downs, bro. In that moment, I did. I just forgave, and I just sent unconditional love to these people, as hard as that was. Giving love to Bill Gates, I fucking hate Bill Gates. My lower mind hates Bill Gates. But yeah, I gave so much love to these people in that moment, and I was just okay with it. And yeah, it was really emotional, but it has its days. I may see something online, or I may see some new agenda that doesn't align with me and that I perceive to be a bad thing, and then I'll feel that anger come through. And just try and observe it. Just try and observe those emotions and be there for that little guy where that anger is most likely coming from, and try and fuse that version of that inner child to the psyche so it catches up, because that's what our psyche is. It's us and the younger version of us, and the psyche hasn't caught up. But the more that we can give that version of us love when we feel those emotions and when we observe those thoughts and don't judge them, the more that it catches up to our current state of being, and the more that we can just be the most authentic versions of us without sporadically jumping out and being unhinged in certain things. And you look at the world on a mass scale, it's more or less being run by children.
Yeah, that's true. Damaged children.
Yeah,
that have not
it's the psyche. Everyone's damaged kids. And so when you look at it from that framework, it gives you so much more power, and it's not easy all the time. And I think it's just about being the observer and just being aware of where you decide to put your energy and your emotions.
I think that's where the true power is, man, because they're going to keep testing and they're going to keep putting things in front of you that they want to trigger that part of yourself, which feeds the fear, feeds their energy. But if you can go, nah, I love you for who you are, and you're teaching me what not to do. Thank you. Boom. their power is just reduced. And if everyone starts doing that and stops demonizing, Donald Trump and Boris Johnson, these puppets that are just being played, and they can't believe they're doing this to the country. It's like, bro, it happens all the fucking time, and it's just a new puppet. Stop feeding it. Stop feeding their energy with that. Just see it as a puppet. Don't feed into it. Keep going on with your life. Take it back to yourself. Stop sharing it. Stop talking about it too much. You can talk about it to spread awareness, but don't sit in it and, go to your family Christmas dinners and go, Donald Trump this, and he's a horrible man. And it's like, yeah, there's lots of horrible people in the world, but there's also a lot of beautiful, incredible humans that are light energies that are coming to save us. I truly believe that, and I'm going to keep focusing on that. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm hopeless. I like to have hope, and I like to have conviction in that light energies are coming through different, in human form, from different dimensions, coming into these bodies as vessels, and they're going to find their soul purposes, and they're going to change the world.
People like you and me, bro.
Yeah.
And love is the answer. It always has been. It always will be. And different states of being, different states of consciousness, different vibrational frequencies are different dimensions. Dimensions are vibrational frequencies. You can experience any dimension you want on this earth and create that for yourself. And there's many souls that are starting to wake up and explore different dimensions and really share that light, which is the most beautiful part, man. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to spread light.
And just as you were speaking, my daughter's sitting on the windowsill waving, and she is the ultimate light for me. Like, I see it within her. She's the ultimate love. She's opened my heart to a love that I never knew was there. I've been to a point where I was numb and not feeling love, compassion, or empathy for anyone. And now having a daughter was the catalyst of me cracking open and releasing the entities, the old programs, the old pains, to now open to love and compassion and care for others. And if I look at myself a few years ago, 5 years ago, maybe less, to the way I am now, it's profound how much my heart has opened. And it took a lot of pain and a lot of cracking the tough, hard, numbing feelings to be able to get to this point. And she's just a constant motivation and a constant reminder of what true love and true light looks like. And yeah, the children coming through these days are, when parented correctly and when guided correctly, to help them get to their true, authentic self and what they came to this earth to do. I think that's when the world starts to change, because generationally we're going to start creating absolute warriors that are compassionate, loving, strong, kind, caring, and of service to others. And then all of the, unfortunately, the older generations that are stuck in deep, hard programming will start to vacate out of these vessels, and then a new life, a new world will come. So stay faithful, stay hopeful, and yeah, take a look at yourself and how you're contributing to this world. If you're listening to this, just really take a look at yourself and your actions, your thoughts, your words, how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others, how you let other people control your emotions. The ultimate power comes from when you're untouchable, no matter how someone approaches you. I had an interaction yesterday where I was whippersnipping and I must have been flicking rocks at someone's window, and I had my headphones on, and I didn't really know. I was just in my own world, and I just heard her like, I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck's that noise? Turned around, there's some woman just stood there, like, took my headphones, like, you're flicking rocks at my car, just going off at me. And I could feel the old part of myself when I was younger would have gone, who the fuck are you talking to like that? But I noticed it, and I was like, okay, I'm really sorry about that. I'll be more careful of where, I whippersnap. I took accountability, because I was flicking rocks at someone's window, and if someone were flicking rocks at my window, I probably would approach them probably a little bit more calm and go, excuse me, mate, but flicking rocks at my window if you just don't mind watching where you're going. But yeah, in that moment, I realized how far I'd come, because I didn't react to someone else's negative energy of someone who doesn't know how to communicate in a calm way, because she's been taught to speak and deal with problems in an aggressive manner. And yeah, that's where true power comes in, is when you don't let anybody else's bullshit or anyone else's energy infiltrate your aura, infiltrate your field. You recognize it, you defuse it, you don't escalate, and you send love. Ultimate. I seen her as soon as I started doing that, her energy just, she calmed and she was instantly diffused. So
love wins, man.
Always.
Love wins all the time. All the time. The answer's love. And it's a powerful energy that can't be reckoned with.
Ooh.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Nah, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, if you've made it to the end of this conversation, tag us on Instagram, take a screenshot, and I want to personally thank you for listening this long, and yeah, just to show some support to you guys for tuning in, and hopefully it helps shift some mindsets and helps elevate frequencies around the world, because that's the goal of this podcast, is to help educate people and help elevate people to stop feeding into the fear and start living from love, start to educate themselves with knowledge and power, which can ultimately break generational traumas and help the generations to come, and help yourself in your life to live a happy, abundant, authentic life. Yeah, so also to help me get guests on this show, like Connor, and even more amazing guests, it takes a few steps. Just go into Spotify and leave a 5-star review. That helps get awareness and brings eyes to the show and helps reach so many more incredible people with all these incredible messages we can share. So thank you, brother. I could feel your power, your authenticity, your from the heart, your vulnerability. It's a pleasure meeting you, and keep going, man. And I'm excited to connect with you outside of this space.
Thank you, brother. Much love.
Much love, my friend.
Much love, bro.
Till next time. Cut.